Nancy. She said she was gonna check with Karen.
I know, because I downloaded it to my Google Drive, and I'm like, oh gosh, what do I do? Because it was like, oh, I'll just make changes as we talk.
All right, let's start the meeting, and we'll get to that.
Sure.
All right, 99 Hartwell Street stormwater permit.
Next month.
Next week.
Right, they asked for a continuation because they submitted additional information
But they didn't hear back.
to VHB middle of last week, and VHB didn't have time to review it, so we'll put it on their agenda, on our agenda for next week.
Awesome, still on schedule.
Here we go.
All right.
Oh. You wanna go to sign by law, or do you wanna go to the easy ones first?
You're the chair.
The easy ones first.
All right, let's do draft construction letter, Cumberland Farms.
What? Oh.
Go to number 4.
I gave you the, there's 3
Yeah,
letters that were
to sign.
supposed to be signed. You also have the draft under your left hand there, but those are the ones, if everything's okay, you can actually sign those, the kind of sticky notes. Right, it should be signed because they're gonna be okay.
And the 3 Christina.
Right.
Oh, okay, this is
Yeah.
for, we'll do that later, yeah.
So if there's no changes, then you can sign those.
And that's what-
Did anyone have any changes or thoughts on the construction? It's a, the construction letter, since we approved the Cumberland Farms project, they're gonna start construction, we assume, in, I think it was March, they said, March,
And-
April. And
Graves
based
is
on that, we wanna have, them submit a fee and coordinate a pre-construction meeting with our
Graves.
review engineer on this one, which is Graves Engineering. And we are sending, this letter is to notify them that they need to get all that stuff done before they start doing any work at the site.
Okay, and did you draft this or you draft this? Okay. You're happy with, that it has all the items that you want them?
I think so.
Okay.
I thought it looked good. Do you think the fee is enough, 3,000?
Well, it'll keep going.
Well, what happens is
Start.
that if everything goes well, they don't use that much. If they have problems on the site and
Can
need
we
a
ask
lot of
5,000?
interaction, then it'll be more. But
No,
this
I'm
is
asking.
basically just something to start with.
This is a big project, maybe 5,000?
Well,
Well, but it's still
the
out.
thing is, the amount is set in our schedule of fees,
Oh, okay.
so we're basing it on what the schedule of fees is. But it, again, is just an estimate.
And if it gets worse, I mean, you can just ask them again.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy with, do we have a letter we could send to Graves separately that would talk about their responsibility? Because VHB kind of knows what they're doing and how to
Well, I
interact with
kind of
us.
wrote it so that it had a little bit of that in there, but yes, we can talk to Graves.
Or talk to them, right. I mean, just so that they know, you know, they can make little
They
decisions on
did it
their
once,
own.
they did it once before on the
CVS?
CVS.
Okay.
And Mike Andre from Graves was the one that did it for us on CVS as well.
Is that who he says they're gonna send?
Yes, yes.
Did they say that, or are we just copying him because we?
He's the one that did the review of the
Okay.
Cumberland Farms.
And he's also gonna be out in the field? I mean, he's the same,
I think so.
okay,
Graves is a smaller organization.
okay. All right, I'm gonna sign this, but I'm not gonna send it. Somebody else is gonna take care of sending it, right? All right, good.
So next meeting, I'll bring you an envelope.
Good, and then to stay up the meeting after. Is that one? All right. All right, that was easy. All right, on the ZBA letters, you think that they would go quickly or slowly?
What?
The ZBA review
It's
letters?
going to be tomorrow.
No, but
It will go
just this
quickly.
item.
Talking
It'll
about
go
it now,
quickly.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll go
If you
quick.
read them, we're all set.
I didn't read
Yeah,
that.
we're all set with that.
No, they didn't.
Yes, yeah, she already gave it out. I saw
Oh,
her,
well, that's
I
done.
talked to her, And I'm like, how did you do that? She said she did, I don't know how they got to her. They got to her and they already submitted it somewhere. I
Did
gave
you-
her a
did you
copy.
share with Toby?
Not signed yet, but I
Which
told
one,
her I
this
gave her a
letter?
copy
No.
of the change.
No.
The change I
It
made?
stays here and it has to go through the
Maybe
chair.
emails that come to me aren't going to my spam, but going to Toby.
Well, let's look at them. Hope,
Yeah,
if they're all set, they're all set, and they just need to
Okay.
be signed.
Let's do
And
the
she
Lancaster
has a
Street one.
I mean, I made mistakes on the other one that Chris caught, so we want to at least send out the corrected ones, because I referred to an A when it should have been a B on one of the items.
I corrected that, I told her if it was signed, I would take it, I'd scan it and send it to her anyway.
Okay, so that's probably what we should do anyway. Okay. So if anyone had any other thoughts, did I miss, because we talked about it at our last meeting.
So there is one thing, that the used car, the deed is not on his name. Does it matter?
Oh, right, we didn't include that.
Does it
right.
matter?
The property, so the applicant who applied it was in, what was the name? Paula?
Mark,
It was I think his wife or a woman's name,
Alza,
and then the owner is a Mark, if I remember right.
Laura.
Laura, right, so it was submitted as Laura,
I guess we'll do the other one first.
but
We need to look at that.
That's what that,
Mark was the one who made the application, right. Record title's in Laura's, and
Oh.
it looks like Mark is the one who signed it.
okay.
So that, with us, it has to be signed by the owner.
Right, well,
So-
all the documentation should be traceable like that.
Yep.
Otherwise, anybody could
So that could
change
be,
other things.
that could be something we just note to the ZBA and let them know if there's that as well. Or we could change and edit the letter, but
Is it just this first page? Where is it? No, where is it?
it's not noted in that.
At all?
Right.
Oh, you didn't put it all. So you'd actually have to change the second page to the sign page.
I don't think I put it in there.
I thought, again, I thought the letter was good.
It was good, okay.
It was clear, and it was, included everything that I remember discussing in the last meeting.
Like the change in that classification?
The,
use?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other comment, did you?
Nope, I think since,
Looks good.
Rajesh, since you're gonna be at the meeting, you can bring up that owner information
Okay,
as
yeah.
well. So that's good.
And how about the other one, the Lancaster?
Yeah, 93, 393 and 395 Lancaster Street variance application.
That doesn't really seem to be appropriate to even,
That's curious.
Right.
It's an odd situation of what he's asking for, but it's a legal interpretation that they talked to town council, and town council I hope is gonna give them enough
okay.
of an interpretation.
Because it seems like the A and R being in place should be
No.
enough for them to do what they gotta do.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No?
I thought you saw that town council's response.
Oh, did they
What's that?
respond?
He saw that, I guess, it was copied.
What's town council's response?
I got to go to the email.
Oh, he's got it on his phone.
Yeah, I think it's on your phone.
Did we get it? Or is it just,
I didn't see anything.
I don't remember seeing anything.
oh, I left my phone in my car.
Might have gone to the
Even better.
ZBA.
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
Well, I think our
I mean,
situation.
whatever their thing is separate from us anyway.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
but I think as a planning board, they're not creating a new lot. There are two existing houses, the houses have been there since 1961, I think they said, 60 or 61. They corrected it using an A&R that was signed in 1970.
Approved,
So I
yeah.
think the planning board is okay with, as long as there's no new houses, no new
Right.
lots created, which is what we said in the last.
The fourth paragraph.
Correct the problem, however, is the legal mechanism that needs to be followed.
Okay, I think that was the consensus of our discussion. Yeah.
Right. Good.
Okay,
And,
Carolyn sent this, she said she reviewed the variance application and agreed that there is not clear what relief is actually needed. The applicant has filed for variance and states that the houses were built too close to lot lines, suggesting that a dimensional setback variance may be needed. However, the applicant also refers to a 1960 A&R plan that was endorsed and recorded, and which appeared to reconfigure the lot lines to provide additional side yard setback for the house at 389 Lancaster Street and additional frontage for the house at 393 Lancaster Street. Please note, however, that the application is filed on behalf of the owners of 393 and 395 Lancaster, so it is not clear if the application should have been filed on behalf of 389 and 393 instead, in which case the legal ad and notices to abutters could be inaccurate. The applicant also states that the deeds do not reflect the configured lot as shown on the 1960 A&R plan. If the applicant is proposing that the deeds simply need to be consistent with the 1960 A&R plan, then I agree with the planning board chairman that this is a matter to be corrected by revising the deeds and not through a variance. However, if the lots as shown on 1960 A&R plan did not conform to zoning in effect at the time, meaning they were too narrow or lacked sufficient frontage, then the applicant could seek a variance to recognize those non-conforming lots shown on the plan. Clarification is needed from the applicant as to what zoning relief, if any, is required and for what parcels.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like we're sort of on the same page as us.
So
Generally the
basically
same
whatever-
idea.
Basically, whatever you said, she
Yep.
kind of agrees, except, depending,
Right.
so I
What
think,
Vinnie said.
so basically, I think what she's saying is that we need to have more
Yeah,
clarification.
but that, I mean, you're gonna have to ask them that either today so they can be
Well-
prepared, or at the meeting.
And Michael, I have a question for you. How can they correct the number, 393, 395, whereas the map indicates 389?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what the incorrect, I thought the assessors, what?
Assessors-
89?
No, the assessor, the index card have the right mailing address.
The
So
assessors.
I can go a little further up. The address for the parcel 114-03 is 395, Lancaster, even though the map indicates 393. The address for the parcel 114029 is 393, Lancaster, even though the map shows 389.
So the number
That
on,
is-
so on
numbers
the
are
map, in the square that's the house, they put a number on it, and
Yeah.
they've got the wrong number on
On
the
the
map for
A&R.
the assessors,
In the assessor's office.
on the
okay.
assessor's office. So that's just something the assessors have to correct.
Assessor has to correct.
So 389 really doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just that that number happened to be incorrectly put on the assessor information.
Okay.
Don't they work with the building department when like a new development comes up
Yes.
for the addresses? I mean, they sort of
Yes.
work that between each other?
Yep, and they'll correct it. They had all the deed references correct is what Rajesh is saying, so that sounds good.
That was the response from their attorney.
Who?
The response for that, we did ask them. The response from the
Applicant.
applicant's attorney.
Oh, applicant's attorney,
Yeah,
okay.
they have an attorney.
And so looking back at some of the changes that were made in the zoning, back in March of 1967, which is the time frame, there was a change in March of 67 for area and frontage requirements. If the A&R was done in 1970, so that would mean that the
Have to
the
conform.
zoning would have to meet the area of 15,600 square feet and 120 feet of frontage, which is, I think they met that on the plan. Well,
I don't remember.
right, we have the
there's
application
the-
here
right.
somewhere. Do you have the packet? Or- I know I brought that up for.
Yeah.
Oh, if I could see that.
See what you're looking for, part of the map?
Yeah, something that showed the square footage on the lots.
On their A&R
What are you
drawing?
talking about?
0.32
This
and
one?
0.4 acres. That's enough.
Make sure the other one.
No, the
Oh.
Lancaster Street.
So, yeah.
She didn't copy that page for you.
We don't need that.
And the new one shows
.32 acres, how's your math?
.32?
.32 times 43,560.
I don't have my calculator with me.
I thought you were gonna do it in your head.
No.
It's full.
Times what?
43,560 times .32.
13,939.2.
And what are we looking for?
I just closed that page, I'm afraid.
I think we were looking for 15,000.
I thought it was 15,600.
For an A&R, wouldn't the planning board only been looking for frontage
Frontage and access?
Frontage and access.
and access, right? Not necessarily lot size?
Because you can. I mean, if
Right.
there's nothing to take it from, there's,
General. For 14,000, what's this, is this general residence or is this single residence?
Good question.
it doesn't say on the,
So I got a feeling, what was the number?
13,939.2. Shy of that.
Well, if it's general residence, which I think it might be,
Yep, it says on the application anyways.
General residence.
okay, so that's only 14,000, so I read the wrong one. And since,
so they're close.
well,
It looks like
yeah,
they tried for it, I mean,
that's, I think it's close enough, because it might be .325 or 3.324, which would put them
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
So I would give them the
Strict
benefit of the doubt on that, because the planning board signed it, so they would have
So
checked
they
it.
would have checked that sort of,
So,
they would have checked area, or they would have
Yes.
checked the other things?
yeah, that's what we do, we check frontage, area, and access.
Okay. And they would neg it on area?
They would what?
Not sign it if it didn't meet the area requirement?
Or they would put a note on it, there was something was going on.
Well, it does have the note, approval is not a.
On that
is
one?
not- Yeah,
Is that note on that?
No, I don't
No,
see it.
we started doing that back in 98 or 99. I
I
think,
saw it on an old one.
I don't think it's
it's
on
not
this
that
one.
old yet. But generally, I think what the town council said was if it met the zoning at the time, which it appears that it did, and then under state law, even if it didn't, but it was before 1974, the state law says that they're grandfathered if it's done before. I know the real grandfathering, but as of 74, if it was an existing lot, then it's an existing lot now. So I think either way, they still get it.
I mean, I think that they were doing the right thing, trying to get to conform to setbacks and other zoning,
Yes.
and going forward with it. So I think that they're doing what they should be doing,
Yep.
not trying to do anything weird or shady.
Right, well, I think it's kind of up to them, up to the
The attorney
ZBA.
really had to get it.
Well, it's the ZBA to try to, I'm not sure, it should be
But
an
what's the
attorney or a
special permit
surveyor.
though? They're gonna give them a special permit to say that they
A
can
variance.
change their
No,
deeds?
they want variance.
But
Because it's
they're not
side
varying
yard.
anything. And, I mean, assuming they pay attention to the new A&R, they're not changing anything.
That was the question we had, and that's what we asked.
Okay.
And that's what our letter is saying. I don't know what the answers are, but
Hopefully they
I think it'll,
Geez,
get
that's
straightened
CBA,
out.
I hope they work it out. All right. Plan annual report, looking like something fun to read?
so did you sign that one too?
Yes,
Or-
sure. That was a while ago.
And what do we, okay, good.
Now we're way off schedule.
Yeah, in our ongoing effort to stay on schedule, I mercifully took the liberty of not yet finishing the draft this time, so.
Perfect,
We'll
thank you
have
very
the next
much.
meeting, the deadline for Nancy is March 16th.
Okay.
So we do have one more meeting.
One more meeting we can do it, okay. All right, let's go. Oh, this is signed by law.
Okay, so I gave you a draft of, just give it to you.
I know, I was just, no, I was just looking to see if we can help this guy, so he doesn't have
Oh,
to sit here.
what
all
are
night.
you in, what are you in for?
I'm just here informally from the light department. My name is John Fitch.
Yep.
That's what,
That's why we recognize him. What is your,
Eventually, we're going to submit a special permit package for the solar field on the Cap landfill.
okay,
And so
Wanna
I'm
come
just
up?
here.
yeah. We'll put
I'm
this
sure the
under-
people-
At your table.
It's under.
Come on up, right here with the cannoli.
so
Right ahead.
if you can speak into the microphones and they'll be able to hear you.
I can show you a draft picture if you don't have it.
Is this the one that cuts in and out?
I don't think any of them cut it out unless Cumberland Farms is here.
Oh, maybe.
That's all right, we can share.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we're in the process of finalizing our construction documents.
Oh, okay.
And we think we're going to submit, at the same time, packages to both the ZBA and the planning board for special permit.
Even though you don't have to, right?
Well, Chris Lund, the building inspector says that they require both special permits from both authorities.
Okay, I mean, you,
Which is
I think you
fine.
do, except I think.
He
there's
sent
some
he sent an
municipal
email
things.
today, which it was great. And Chris was really on top of it, because he found in
We did?
one of the sections, it's not under site plan review section. It's, I forget what, I've been doing too many numbers on the regulations, but in his response, he said that a special permit, with a special permit granting authority.
For
when-
facilities or
within the
something,
aquifer-
right?
Within the aquifer protection district.
Oh, that's why it's starting to
And
qualify?
it says any
Okay.
change of use or new structures that are not in compliance, like not a residential house, needs to come for a special permit with us, which is separate than site plan review, but it refers to the process of site plan review to
So why don't we
follow.
do it on the last one? Because I mean, you came,
Because we didn't know that.
Was that
Okay, is that what it
aquifer?
was?
It was a different building inspector, and Chris,
okay, because I remember with the last one, you came up and you didn't have any structures, so we kind of thought we weren't involved.
Yeah, and I wasn't here for the first one.
Well, okay.
So, but I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, because, I mean, we even gave the advice to, if you can stay away from building a building.
Yeah, we're not gonna be building a building on this one
Yeah.
either. There'll be electrical apparatus, some of it will be enclosed, but it won't be a building.
And this is your existing apparatus right now? That's over in the
Substation, correct.
Okay.
Electrical apparatus is what I would call it.
The apparatus or the substation?
We like to use apparatus, it's better than calling it a building, because it's really not an occupied building.
It's switchgear and an enclosure?
Correct.
Okay.
Protected aisleway, they call it.
Okay.
So on the capped landfill, the landfill itself is about 15 acres, the property owned by the town. The cap is about 9 acres, and we're gonna go on about 6 acres
Okay.
with the solar field if we get it approved. We already received DCR approval from the Watershed Act. We received a negative determination from the COMCON,
Oh, yeah, okay.
so we're set there. We've received some other approvals, but they're not really all that important. Natural Heritage and Endangered Species approved it.
it could be ugly if you didn't get that.
Thank gosh, it's a field that's mowed 3 or 4 times a year. But so some smaller things like that were approved, so we think the next steps will be site plan review, ZBA, and then the Mass DEP permit, which is the post-closure use permit
Okay.
that they'll issue for an application like this. And they've done it across the state of.
Because their jurisdiction is on the, because it's on the dump?
Because it's on the dump. They've approved about a dozen or so of these already in the state.
And they just finished one in
They
Webster.
encouraged it too.
Yeah, they
There's a whole
encouraged it.
program to try to get solar.
Yeah, it's a good use for an unusable piece of property.
Right.
And is there special consideration when you're doing the construction, like you have to be careful that you're not too heavy and?
You can't penetrate the cap, so the cap is gospel, essentially. And so whatever you do has to be ballasted and put on top of the existing terrain. And so everything we do will be ballasted on top of the existing cap, so more than likely you'll see everything exposed on gravel with pre-made footings that are trucked in or built there and built up from there. And then the entire site is fenced in for protection and security.
Yep.
And even the fence is ballasted.
Keep
A
it
ballasted-
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It can't go
a
into
footing. Well, you really can't.
How deep is the earth above the cap? I mean, is it significant or?
It's not significant. It's
It's usually 3 feet down.
yeah, a total of 3 feet of the different layers, clay,
Yeah.
loam,
Really?
another membrane or so. I have a description back at the
I was
office.
just, I mean, if it was 6 feet or something like that. that would-
No, it's nowhere near 6 feet. It's probably like
6
3,
inches loam and topsoil on top of the cap, probably.
probably 12 inch of a clay, another 12 inches of a gas membrane, I think they call it. And maybe not much more. So a total of probably 3 feet.
Okay, good. I mean, as long as you,
You can't
So what we're
penetrate.
looking at now is that he's gonna be submitting a site plan review.
Essentially, it's all the same.
Special permit,
Special
that's the
permit.
way to, so you can follow the same route. So that, there'll be a public hearing for it. We should be able, we won't be able to get it onto our next meeting, but the one following that, if you get all the paperwork together,
Okay.
we should be able to get it into the next meeting.
Okay.
That's when we hold a public hearing. Anybody that wants to speak from town or out of town can speak. I don't know, are there drainage needs? Did your engineer assess whether there needs to be some kind of drainage treatment or?
There won't be, they're finalizing those documents as we speak, but from talking to Whitman and Bingham, the slight increase in drainage or water runoff is so minor that it's negligible. The cap itself you have to consider as impervious, and everything we do on top of it's not gonna penetrate it, so it's still gonna remain impervious. The sheet flow of water that comes off the apparatus, the solar panels, is slowed down by the gravel that we're gonna add to the base. And so it pretty much equals, there's no new addition of water or velocity of water.
And the only thing is
site.
that you're displacing, what hits the panel goes to the edge of the panel, that's all.
Goes to the edge of the panel and then drops onto a gravel base that'll be added to the top of the loom
Okay.
cap, which will slow down the water from speeding up
Just running.
and running whatever way. But, so there will be no, what I get from it, and this will be in the application.
You'd want to see something to.
Yeah, exactly, 'cause-
Firm up the downside just in case, because I know that
It's a pretty good
there's
grade, it
an
looks pretty
impermeable
tight.
liner underneath, but we still have grass and
We're not,
meadow.
you can tell we're not going down there. We're gonna skip that area because it's not worth it. It's too tight. It is somewhat mushy down in that area, so we stayed away from it.
Okay.
We stayed on the slopes that made the most sense.
And is it gonna look like the ones on the pike that are all sort of lumpy? Or is it gonna look like your other one that's really nice and straight and nice and perfect?
Probably a combination of the both.
Because I like the straight. I mean, that's
I
just the
do,
way.
I do
Maybe
too.
the one looks in the
I like
Salisbury Street, near the jail.
Yeah, that looks nice, and the way everything's on the same,
Yeah, but this covers the entire.
well, it affects their efficiency too, I think. I mean, when they're all, the panels on the edges are not really looking straight, they're kind of,
They follow terrain on the pike.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
in our site, we made the bases, which are actually old utility poles, we made them all at
Right.
a flat height and built up from there, so.
and can you do that with the ballasted type?
Probably could, but you're gonna, because the terrain difference is probably 40 feet difference.
Yeah,
It's gonna be odd to have a very high structure.
well, or at least keep them, so, I don't know, so it looks good, that's all.
Well, we'll try to keep it as good looking as
Okay.
possible.
Is
Are
this
we-
considered a one panel?
Say again, sir?
Is this one panel?
Well, nothing's one pan.
Yeah. No, there should be like a.
Oh, no, that would be.
Oh, in the red.
The smaller squares are panels. Each panel's about 3 feet by 5 feet. That's pretty much the standard dimensions of a,
How many panels,
I won't know until I actually get a bid from a developer, but it'll be thousands of panels,
thousands of?
thousands.
And it's 2 megawatts or something like that, 3
It
megawatts?
might be 1.5
Oh.
megawatts. It's relatively
I
small.
thought it was gonna be 10 times the other one.
Yeah, when we started squeezing the area, to
Yep.
only use the terrain that was the easiest to use and
Yep.
keep away from the sides, keep away from trees,
Oh, it's starting to get
we
tough.
started to eat up a lot of property. And if you see the train, we can't go further north because the train actually slopes the other way,
And there's a road.
and there's a road there, the access road to the substation. So we're going to use the best available space possible.
Okay.
How much electricity will we be getting
For electricity, it'll be less than 10%
of the spiles?
from this particular site, yes. Less than 10%.
Oh, so this is less than 10%, the other one's less than 1%?
Correct, about 2%.
Oh, come on.
We're trying.
So we won't be getting any reduced electricity,
It,
reduced price electricity.
10%?
well,
So we get the less bill next
it
month?
won't decrease the electric rates, but it'll help not increase them. We haven't increased rates since 2009. Our rates have remained the same.
If you look around, our rates are really good.
Our rates are some of the lowest in the state when you look at rates for residential. And even when you get into the higher level commercial industrial rates, our rates are some of the lowest.
Are you adopting the land as far as the dump maintenance? Like every once in a while, I think we get requirements to check, I don't know, whatever, one of these.
Well, you need to sample and continue
Yeah.
to sample. Are you gonna be taking over it? or is it
We,
still-
we agreed with the town that we would take over maintenance of the cap,
Okay. And
which includes monitoring of the cap,
Okay.
measurement of the gas
Right.
measurements,
repairing the.
repairing any
vents.
dents, because we're gonna be on top of it, so we should be responsible for that. So we agreed to take care of that, as well as any annual monitoring
Okay.
fee that they had with the annual monitors. So we'll take care of that. That was about $8,000 or $9,000 worth of monitoring. And we'll,
So maybe we should increase the planning board budget by $8,000 or $9,000 and soak that up.
yep, and we don't want, we're not asking for full control and custody of the property. We're just gonna ask the town for We're gonna call it probably a license to be on the site,
Okay,
just so that we keep it simple, because
it's the town's
it's
land?
the town's land.
Right now, okay.
And the light department can be on it, but we need permission to be on it from the town.
Okay. Any other concerns? or
Well,
questions?
this, again, we're gonna have a public hearing, this is just.
No, I know, but I mean, anything else you'd want him to bring forward during the?
Drainage.
What do we wanna do about review engineer? Do you think VHB is okay with this sort of thing?
Depends on what they come in with for drainage, calcs, that kind of thing, because hopefully it's,
Pretty
they
straightforward.
can put it simply and have enough documentation to show that it's gonna work. But if it doesn't quite meet the sniff test, then we send it off to have the experts look at it.
Okay. That's great.
But what about, do you think we'll do a review?
Well, we don't have any traffic issues, I mean, the only thing
Right.
that I can see is drainage to send off their,
That's stormwater.
I'm not, what's this, this is in the single residence district, so there's usually a 25-foot setback?
It's a, I believe it's a conservation district or / town
Oh.
land.
Okay, well, it might be one of those, but just show that you're meeting the zoning requirements. There should be, usually there's a table included on the plans that say what the zoning is and then how you meet it, that kind of thing.
Do you consider Pierce Street still an active road? It doesn't really matter,
Yes, we want
Yeah, it's
traffic
still,
lights
it's
on it
still a
now.
town layout.
but so we'll be 50 feet from either road.
No, 25 I think is all. It's a 20, I think it's a 25-foot setback for a structure. It's just the zoning bylaws.
All right. We'll
But it depends on what zone. I don't know conservation because there's no other development in conservation, so. But I know residential is
Pierce
25.
Road? Is that the one over here?
Pierce Street is the dirt road.
Oh, that's the dirt road, okay.
Yeah.
It's the old Pierce Street town road. I don't know if
Does it connect up to the other end of?
Yeah.
Yes.
it technically does. It's
It
hard,
does
it's a rough
connect to the
road.
Maple,
Yeah, I've driven it.
Maple to.
Yeah, you have? You can drive all the way to the other end?
You
You
could,
have to go right across the railroad tracks and it's not a nice
Drive?
pass.
But if you use somebody
Actually,
else's
it's
drive.
been, yeah.
Wanna go?
we had them remove the tree stumps
Yeah.
and now there's a gate there.
Oh, there is a gate.
We needed access to the poles. Our overhead line goes up that road.
Right, okay.
So you can drive through if you open the gate and you drive carefully.
Okay.
But it's not, actually, I don't know if it hasn't been abandoned, if it's been abandoned or anything like that, if you can get some documentation from the town clerk that it's been abandoned, or, I forget what the
I don't think
phrase
it really
is.
matters because we're not
You're
gonna,
not 25 feet away from that one anyway, so that's
Yeah.
good.
The only place you're close is over here at the, it looks like there might be a gate over there.
Well, you got a pretty big size, it's the front, it's the frontage, so even whether that gate, as long as you're 10 feet off the property, or 25 feet off the property line, if it's single residence district, but we just have to look it up.
yeah, we're gonna use the access on Temple Street, 140. You know the turnaround? We're gonna consider that our front.
Is that this proposed
That's the hatched area.
something gravel driveway?
Correct. Yeah, that's right at the existing turnaround, the bus turnaround.
Is that still the same, the turnaround gonna be the same depth?
Same depth.
Okay, so school buses or whoever turn around there still be able
They
to do
can
it?
still do it.
Okay.
And we picked that area because the area beyond the area where the buses turn around is not on top, even though it looks like it's part of the cap, it's not on top of the membrane. So we can do a little more work there
Oh.
than on the actual cap. And so we figured
Okay.
we can put our pad there, our pole there, make our connection, put a gate there.
The power's gonna come out here and not go over to the substation?
No, we'll go across the street. It's cheaper to intercept the overhead line than to go to the underground lines under Pierce Street.
Okay. And that can handle the increase in whatever it's gonna
We
be?
have a spare feeder in there that has used, it's used for nothing. It has
Okay.
zero.
That's what it's there for.
Is that why there's so many lines on those poles?
That's one of the reasons, and then Boylston's, 2 peak feeds, they own 2 feeds from the substation, we share it. 2 of those feeds feed Boylston.
Okay.
And then we have one spare that feeds 0, and we have another spare, the 4th set of conductors actually goes down to where the Worcester pump station is and takes a right into the woods. And that's a backup feed for Hartwell Shrewsbury Street.
Hartwell Street?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So it connects all the way up? It goes up?
It does go all the way through the woods. There's the old road there.
Yeah.
Hartwell Street, yeah.
The old
It's
back
Hartwell.
end.
It continues all the way down. That one's a tougher drive.
That's a rougher drive. We very rarely go in there.
Oh, yeah, it's all eroded.
But it's a backup feed. We try to have multiple feeds for each of the 4 feeders in town.
That's
Okay.
great.
Right, I mean, I think
Good.
we're gonna do
And
it.
so we get once we get the package, so we don't have a complete package, so that if we're meeting every 2 weeks now because the months are shorter, so when we get a package, it'll have to be a month from whenever we get the package that we schedule a public hearing.
The package will probably be in next week.
Okay, so we'll review it and set the date for the hearing at our next meeting, right?
So on the 9th, we'll set it? And that won't be for this one?
Right, we couldn't do it for the 23rd, it would have to be April, whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? Is that okay with your time
Well,
frame?
we could do the second one in March, right?
No, because it's only 2 weeks between them and you need 14 days notice in the paper.
Oh, I see, I see.
He's just applying on that day, we don't have.
Or
Yeah, we
do
don't
it
know
on-
what we need now.
For April 13th?
Yep. As long as April 13 works for you.
That's fine.
And I think that if you get the stuff in early, it'll give us time to review. We won't hold it for another meeting. We'll just, if we decide at that meeting that we get it, that it needs to go to VHB, we'll send it off right then and have them start a review.
What about VHP fees? I mean, this isn't,
How many acres is it?
6 acres, the fenced-in area is 6 acres.
6 acres. So it's in a fee schedule of the amount. Fee schedules.
Notices, do you want us to prepare all the notices per the instructions online or on the zoning bylaw?
I think so. And,
Melanie, you
And
have
site plan
something
review.
usually send out to the?
I just send out notices to the abutting towns, not to the butters.
No, don't you send in something like, this is the wording that it should follow in the paper or something?
Oh, yeah, I could, a hearing notice.
Yeah, you want
I
that?
could send it.
But the actual labels, lists, do you
Right,
want?
you usually get those.
You
that.
can
I'll do all of that.
Yeah,
Okay, correct. That's fine.
but yeah, when I have the hearing notice, then I can send that to you so that you can.
And you just update your information, but the
and use
general
that
wording
to
is
put
there.
into your
Alright.
notice. And, I mean, we can talk about that now. Right now, for 3 to 10 acres, it's application fee of $1,200 plus $5,500.
That's the engineering?
$5,500 is a professional review fee.
That's for a
I don't
full
think,
development?
that's for a full development. I mean, I'd be
We could probably break that down if it's just gonna be
cutting both in
stormwater.
half.
Won't be that
too.
much.
We could cut them both in half, I'd be okay with that, but.
Yeah, okay. I
mean,
mean,
it's a
'cause
town-
it's just gonna be the stormwater review, not much else, you know?
Right,
I mean, it's less than a
and
normal.
zoning and, yeah,
Okay, that's fine.
so we can, you may, when you come for the application, just bring a check and we'll figure it out, how much it ends up being. It won't go up, how's that?
No, we're exactly, in one sense, that's the one sense that we're exactly like the town, just that we have to follow the town warrant process for
Oh, for money?
cutting a check or a bill, paying a bill.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Oh.
Is there a way to just do it electronically? Like transfer money from your account to our account instead of cutting a check? And we just decide that night that it needs to be such and such?
Alright, transfer.
I wouldn't, oh, that might work. I could ask the town accountant.
Yeah.
Because I mean, right, the whole board's here, what do you think about a fee? I mean,
You said it's 5,000 plus
right now it's
1,200?
5,500 plus 1,200 for the application fee. We're gonna still have to do the public notice, we're gonna have to do the minutes, so the time associated with it from our clerk would be what would be expected from any other site, so that's that's where it comes from, the application fee.
Yeah.
But because it's the town, we can just do it at cost, which probably is half, assuming, that's the way we worked it all out.
Oh, yeah? We
Well-
make money on our engineering review fees?
Well, we have money available so that we can do reviews and we can do notices, like when we do any zoning changes,
Yep.
general bylaw changes, we don't get any money from anyone, so
You have
to
have
do our
something.
operation, we have to pay all that stuff up front. So the way we originally did when we were looking at fees was
Yeah.
say, we looked at the 3 years prior and said, okay, well, how much did we spend in fees? And we just divided up by the number of sites that we had, and that was the number we came up with.
So, I mean, I'm okay bringing it down because I don't think it's gonna be as much work for VHB.
Yep.
As far as their hours go,
Right?
you know?
If you could,
And if we don't use VHB, then
Then it all.
professional review fee all goes back to you
mhm.
if it's not used. The application fee is
I
deposited.
guess that's the other thing, we could do it for the full amount and just refund you
Yeah,
later.
we could order whatever portion you think was appropriate, bill us immediately, and I can process it, and we'll be ready in 2 weeks anyways.
Yeah, that's way,
Except, can we bill without an application?
well, he's gonna process it.
I'll
We can set it, we just have to remember, which might be the hard part,
We'll put it in the minutes, we'll put it in the minutes.
So we cut it down from 1,200 and 5,500 to 600, it's easy, cut it in half.
Right.
600 and, well, 2,500. So it's not too hard.
Okay, I mean, that, you wanna, I mean, everybody in favor of?
I mean, we're paying it either way as townspeople, so
Right.
Right,
we wanna try to keep it as low as possible.
That's fine.
that's fine. All in favor? Or do you wanna make a
We
motion?
can't do a motion, we just agree to it.
Just
you know.
We agree.
Have at it.
Just don't change your mind.
I was told to have added to the town
Have
account.
added.
So that's good, it's good to see it too.
You know,
It's a nice little project, good use for the land, it can't be used for much else, so.
Right.
playgrounds, cemeteries.
Neither one.
No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
There's nothing going on anymore, the one on, what was it?
By the
Tiverton
jail?
Drive? That's
No.
not.
No, what happened is, the state approves these larger projects, they call them utility scale projects. And what happens is when they get approved, basically that means they're gonna get the environmental attributes, they call them solar recs.
Oh, yeah.
So, those, basically, what do they call them, utility scale projects on regular land are no longer authorized. So they call them managed growth projects. They're no longer authorized. But the state has other categories, so brownfields is one. The landfill is a brownfield. If you create, smaller projects, you can get them approved. If you create a community solar, definition of a solar project, you can get that approved. So the state's only approving certain types of projects. This brownfield happens to be one of them.
Yeah.
So that I can get the environmental attributes to make it work
Do
financially.
you get them or the state gets them?
We get them.
Okay, good.
But the state has to approve the project so that I can get its allocation of those SRECs.
State pays for the entire project?
No, the light department pays for the entire project. They just approve
Oh, just approve
the size and type of
So
project.
you don't get anything from state?
No, we're gonna fund it ourselves.
Well, there was a grant on the last one, wasn't there?
I don't think so. I think the town was gonna get a lease, a pilot.
Right.
Oh, on the one on
Leasing.
Tiverton Drive,
Right.
but, I mean, on the other one over by, Angel Brook.
It wasn't a grant, it was a, they call it a CREB, a Clean Renewable Energy Bond. So a very low interest,
Okay.
1 or 2% loan for
Okay.
half the cost. And the other half, the light department paid for.
Came up with, okay.
And so,
Not doing that anymore?
no, they're not, the CREB's not worth it. Well, I can finance it myself for 2%
Okay.
versus
Anyways,
applying
these
for a
days.
federal CREB, which is time consuming and onerous. Yeah, so, and it's, at 2%, we can finance it ourselves, those
Yeah.
basically. And those recs, the S-recs are what make the project
worth it.
work financially. So, put it in perspective, the existing solar field that we have on Shrewsbury Street, the S-recs that we do sell
Yeah.
cover the loan repayment and O&M, insurance, and any small repairs that happen annually, so.
Oh, really? So
It's-
it balances?
It balances out, it really, it's.
And we just get the power
We get the
to
power.
offset whatever we're doing to.
And if I ever need the S-Recs, I'll stop selling them, because we own them, and that's the kind of the structure we're creating is, in
Why
case,
would we need them? Because we
if-
output a lot of something?
the S-Rec is the environmental attribute. If
Right.
some investor-owned utilities, or all investor-owned utilities, are mandated to have a certain percentage of their energy portfolio made up of renewable energy.
Right.
And the only way you can do it is either own it, or buy the attribute from someone that owns it. So-
Right, so, but the town doesn't have any
We don't-
output of its own.
No, but we don't have a requirement to own it. So
Oh, okay.
the environmental attributes, well, we'll sell it until that
You
mandate
don't
might
have
come
to.
our way. It might come our way, it might not, but it'll help pay for the project. In the meantime, we have a solar field on a piece of property that can't be used for anything else.
And how long is it, like, the financing on this would be like a 30-year thing, or?
Oh, no, it would be 15 or 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, we keep it short.
Okay. All right, I'm happy. We try to stay on schedule again.
Yeah,
Great.
that's great.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you for
All
coming.
right, Thank you for having me come by, or at least hearing me out informally, I appreciate it. I was trying to get an idea of the process, and this helps, so.
Yeah, we have online, if you go into the planning board, they have site plan review, and there's a checklist, there's a whole,
Yeah.
the process is there.
Yeah, I saw that, and it's
And
pretty similar with
Melanie's very
ZBA, so it seems
Yes.
like once I check that list off, I'll have,
It's,
Yeah,
yeah, with
application.
ZBA, it's almost the same, yeah.
What's the ZBA? What do you?
Special
special permit,
For a utility.
public utility facility.
We did one last year, the one that got canceled.
That one,
Yeah.
I believe it was Timothy Drive. They had to have that, we had, as a matter of fact, they had to have a special meeting at town meeting, before town meeting,
Yeah.
because you guys were gonna lose, you had to have it in or something. Were you here for that one?
Yes,
Because there was something about
the
that they
town-
had to have it in because the state required something, and the money, and so they had to have an emergency ZBA meeting to approve it.
okay. Yeah, and the town meeting was required because the town was actually leasing the property to Borrego Solar.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
Get back to you.
See you in a couple weeks.
Yes, good.
See you, thanks. I'll see you tomorrow night, probably. Is the ZBA meeting tomorrow night? Yeah, I was gonna stop by and say hi and.
Hey, good luck with that.
All right.
Our board's not as convenient as this board is.
All right, well,
Oh,
come on. We'll figure it out, thank you.
all right, thanks.
They don't have, you need to add a citizens comment section to your agenda.
It's up to the,
I know.
Up to the chair.
she had the person.
Oh, see, that's why I have to stay chair, so I can keep my citizens comments?
Yep.
Right.
Okay,
Sorry to interrupt.
no, that was fine, that was good, so we don't have to go through the discussion on signs. All right, so I just drafted, some ideas based on what I had before, and then a little bit on our discussion on what you thought was okay. And then I, did pass it on to Mark and Vinny, and Vinny had some comments in red, on,
The mine are in white.
yep, because they're in white.
That's track changes, it's not anything further.
Yeah. So, I didn't, make a lot of changes to what we had talked about before, other than I did not include, like as Vinnie pointed out, what about the billboards noted below of, as I talked about before, was should we, for the business center, increase the overall square footage of it? And I included it down below in the sign schedule, but I did not up here. I didn't know where people were on that, so Vinny did catch that. The other, well, actually, if you could just talk a little bit about on the property and non-residents.
Yeah, and the first item, the last red bit in the end of the paragraph, it talks about the signs to be located at least 10 feet from the property line. We had talked at the last meeting about, in a business district, not having it set
10
back
foot.
from the property line, because it'll be set back from the right-of-way even further, so, or from the pavement even further. So we were thinking about changing the current bylaws that have a 10-foot setback to reduce that to 0. As long as the sign is on the property, we'd be okay. And so we would just have, if we're gonna make the change in the first paragraph, we just change that 10-foot setback from the property line to on the property.
Located on the property.
Right, on the property. Oh my gosh.
I like that, I mean, I think that, what do you think happens with, you know, the Choi Lee sign right off the expressways, even though that's in Worcester? It's right near that,
Yes,
the
at the
Ouija board
intersection.
store.
Yep.
If that was in town, would that be not an allowed sign because it's a sign for a building or a business that's not on that piece of property? Is that to prohibit that sort of thing?
Yes.
Do we like that idea?
Sure.
Okay.
Problem with
Well, that was easy.
The motel had the same thing. They had a sign right next to the Choi Lee. You know, Reservoir Motel is active.
For Choi Lee's
No, next to Choi Lee's, out on, where you're talking about.
on 12?
They had one there for Reservoir Motel.
What did they? Another strike against them.
Right, well, that's why we put in our bylaws that signs have to represent something on the parcel where the sign is located. Worcester doesn't have that.
Apparently the
So if you have a business in West Boylston, put the
sign in Worcester. Okay, good, I like that. How you doing?
Good, well, no, I just thought I would change it as we talked.
Good.
It'd be easier that way. So I'll take that, I'm taking that out and just saying to be located on the property.
And this is in business centers, and we don't have
In
business
business
centers in
centers.
residential districts, right? They're not
Say it
allowed.
again?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I'm just, because we don't say in here, we did talk a little about
We did talk about that.
reducing
yeah.
the setback only in the only in the business district, not in the
Oh,
residential
yeah, I should have
districts.
that too.
But there are no standing signs allowed in in
Oh, in
residential
residential, for single
districts.
residence.
Right, which is what,
Oh, is that what is there? Okay.
yeah, that's why I put that down there.
Okay, yep,
Because we had talked about that last time, was adding a line about, we're just talking about this,
Okay,
the electric signs are not permitted within any residential district or the village mixed-use district. But then, that might affect the center of town sign.
right, we don't have right now, we don't have a village mixed-use district, but we were talking about that with CMR,
Right.
CMRPC.
That
And they're
are-
talking about going straight from the Darby's area all the way up to Parker's, with that potentially being a village district. And so if that's a village district, then our town sign is electronic, and it would be in that, so
so they'd
Oh,
have to
they don't-
document their grandfathering.
No, they can get a
it
special.
would be
permit.
grandfathered, but why not just not have it in
They can
the,
get a special permit,
But
right?
he's saying just.
just put it in any
delete-
residential district.
Just delete it,
Okay.
not permitted within any residential district and leave it at that.
And not village mixed use, okay?
Yeah, I put that in there at the, well, Grafton had it, and I thought, well, worth considering it.
Yeah, no,
So-
it's good to talk about.
There's another thing in that one that we wanted to, keep, use.
I have a couple of the ones that we wanted to use down there, but I also still
Yeah.
have the original paper I gave you. So then the next thing was, the size of the sign, like, so if you see,
The sign schedule there, right?
yeah, well, the sign schedule,
This one, okay?
I need to have the current one listed there for the sign schedule. I need to write what's currently there,
Okay.
which is on page 78, but then also, which I can just add, but also Vinnie's comments here.
What were
about-
Chris's concerns?
Yes. Well, and then, well, Vinnie's big comment was, do we really need such large signs? Because remember before.
There are
at
15?
the- What?
There are 15 business centers?
Just from the aerial photos, yeah. I mean,
I
it's-
know, I didn't think there were that many. I thought maybe 8.
Because if you come down, you've got,
Gerardo's,
okay, which way, I was coming from the north, but
okay.
Gerardo's is one,
Then you have the Dunkin' Donuts, if you. I'm
the
still going with that.
IGA,
January
it's not the,
Terrace.
I can't think of what it is, but it's not the
Dollar
IGA.
General.
Dollar General, yep. So Dollar General,
Oh, and that's not in Worcester, that part,
that's
the
right,
Dollar
that's
General
in
part.
West Boylston,
Mhm.
right? So that's the first one. And then we had
Gerardo's
Gerardo's,
and Dunkin's.
Center
Oh, no, then there's the one with the Flowerland or whatever in there?
Yeah.
yep, Flowerland, yep. And then across the street, the Centerwood Terrace,
What is it?
where George's Barber Shop used to be.
Yeah.
Dunkin'
Yeah.
Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts, okay.
And then, what was the other one?
Army Navy Surplus there?
Yeah, Army Navy and.
Yep, the Subway, yep.
Subway.
Um,
And then
There's a whole
the,
bunch, I mean, I looked, I
that
had,
one with the enormous sign that's gonna
I
have a couple.
I went on the town's
Yeah, the ones over
GIS
there.
one. Right,
Walmart,
Walmart.
and, yep, Walmart, but
And
then
then
also
Walmart.
across,
The
Brown Rice.
Brown rice, yeah.
yep. And, no, and the RV, Flag RV's got 3 businesses in there,
Oh, do they?
Oh, I
Okay.
didn't realize that.
yep.
I think I'm at 9.
And I think, I'm not sure if the Manor Restaurant has 3, I know they
Oh,
were,
now they do.
well, they were,
Oh, and then there's the,
The Manor does?
El Forno,
El Forno, yep,
Oh, yeah.
10, and then 11.
What?
Yeah,
the Buffett.
Country Kettle.
That's not, I only went down to the intersection of Route 12, 140.
Okay.
It's a good number, and so
And they can all have
assume
these
that they all are
signs.
gonna get these big standing signs.
Right, so then my comment back to him through email was, we could think of it as the, I don't know if we wanna get this complicated though. Think of the size of the business center, so basically the larger the business center, the larger your sign is able to be.
And the farthest from the street, I think that was another consideration.
Yeah, I mean, so it's kinda like the wording of everything is, you know, like Walmart and Salter School, I would imagine would have a larger sign than Senator
Army Navy
Terrace.
store?
The
Yeah.
Army Navy store, right.
Right.
They're smaller businesses, they're closer to the road.
And they're not as, whatever, point destination places. Like you're going, if you
Right.
want an RV park, you go there
Right.
regardless of whether you see a sign on the road or not. Just have to find the place.
Right, so like the size of the building and the size of the sign should be appropriate.
I agree with all that, it's right in the
I
detail.
don't-
Yeah,
I don't-
right,
that's-
yeah,
I don't know how to write
exactly.
it down.
Writing
Right,
is the hard
so,
part,
so,
so
right, so
that's-
when I emailed them back, I'm like, so it would be, I don't know, I could try to do some research to see if, there's some other towns that have language that
I
is
think when we were doing it
around
the
the
first time,
size
we
of
found
the,
something.
you know,
That has
that's
that
what we're talking
variety,
about, that has
yeah.
that type of language, because you'd have to be specific with
Right,
the
you have to be
total
able to tie
square
it down.
footage,
yeah.
right, the total square footage of the business. So I don't know, so that would be, so that's the question I would ask everybody, is that worth pursuing it at this point in
Well,
time?
how about this? We're gonna go forward with our, posting of this change tonight, right?
We had talked
We
about
have to
that.
do that to stay on schedule? Is that what?
I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
So if we want to, if we can't come up with the exact, I don't think we have the exact wording, why don't we put in that there will be a topic about expanding or changing the size of signs at business districts, you know, relative to business centers, relative to the scale of the business center, you know, relating to the size of the sign. You know, we can put that in as, we're gonna talk about that so that somebody
Yeah,
who
I mean, we
sees the
can try,
notice.
right, we can,
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about the notice right now, so we don't have to work out the wording before we put out the
or
notice.
just the size of the business.
Right, but when you're gonna do a notice, but you only have like a day or two before the notice gets published, and then you have to have the actual wording ready.
You have to have the actual wording, or can you present
Well,
that at the
whatever,
meeting?
no, you need the wording for them to consider, because the notice says we're thinking of changing the sign bylaws and a couple other general things. And then they say, okay, well, what do you really want to change, and then you get something.
Oh, you don't think in our notice, we could put in the topics we're gonna discuss at the public hearing? We could talk about changing the sizes of signs to be proportional to the
Yeah, but we
area.
have to have some idea, say, as she said, you know, the Walmart gets bigger sign, the other gets smaller sign. So we need to have that.
I know, but we just don't know the
We
exact
need to-
wording.
We need to make
And I
sure, you
didn't
know, we
wanna-
have those things clear, then only we can go to the public, right?
Well, I don't wanna say we're not gonna do that. I don't wanna say we should leave that out of the sign bylaw because we don't have it.
It may not be
language
something we
in
can
time
get done
for
in
the-
time. I mean, that's possible, but it looks like Chris is reading the manual there, so hopefully he'll come up with an answer of what's,
He's got the
Give me
manager.
some time.
Well, so I guess, so the first question is that something that you would even be interested in? Or would you rather just say, let's just cap it, all business centers, no more
Well-
than this size? So I guess that's the first question to really be answered.
What are people's
Is it-
thoughts then on, do you think we're getting a lot of pushback on the size of signs, and that seems to be a sensitive subject to people and businesses in town?
No, the businesses, they do want a bigger sign,
And Cumberland Farms is,
not the
You know,
Cumberland
example.
Farms, you know, even the smaller ones, they
Yeah.
want a sign. They
I mean,
want
even,
their business
what's
to be
the
visible.
Country Kettle wanted something when we were first doing this, they wanted more open signs and attract, you know, something to attract people off the road to come into their place. I mean, everybody does, I'm just, I don't know how important it is if we should do it on this bylaw.
Well, I mean, how much are people going forward to like the zoning to have signs changed? Is
At
this,
least one.
No, they don't go to the zoning because it's, first thing is, you know, they have to go pay for the fees and other things, you know, just for changing the sign. Small business,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money. $300, $400, they don't want to do that.
so do they just do it on their own?
Yeah, not on their own, they don't want to have the sign, whatever the sign they have it. This guy, the plaza guy had the money, so he came in.
Well, how much would a new sign be? I mean, I would imagine that fee's probably relatively small
Compared to the cost
compared
of
to the
the sign.
cost of the sign.
Yeah, but I
So
think,
that's one factor I'm thinking, but I don't know.
I mean, the
What
other
are the
thing
reason
too,
why they are not going
I think you,
before the ZBA?
you do raise a good point in that we have business centers that are, you know, as you mentioned, we have some with 3 businesses, we have some huge ones with
12.
with 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Rochester Plaza has 12, I guess.
You know, to the extent we could treat them differently,
Mhm.
that makes sense on some level, but the question
and
is.
it's very much missing from the current
Right.
sign bylaw. We didn't really consider that,
Right.
deal with that well in this
I
current
mean,
sign
it
bylaw.
at least has, you know, your total square
Again, you
footage,
know,
and you can
again,
sort of break it up the way you want to, on a case-by-case basis.
I suppose we could do that.
I mean, I think that's the way it is now.
again, you know, do they small, the bus, like the here,
Brown
the
rice.
brown rice, do they need a sign? The standing big sign?
They don't need it.
Well, it's up to
They
them
don't-
whether they
they
need
don't-
it.
Well,
Well,
So far,
there is
I-
a standing sign out in front of that
there is
mall
a
right
standing,
now.
right, there is a standing sign. Do I think that it would need to be
If all the business,
really large? No.
yeah,
Well, I think like they're in an ideal situation where the sign over their part of the structure is adequate, because they're only like 50 feet off the road or something, or 100 feet off.
right.
You know, so you don't really need another sign, because they're kind of visible from the road on their own.
yeah.
But then there's places like Walmart or something like that where
No,
they're,
Walmart can
you know,
afford,
300 feet
you know,
off the
Walmart
road.
can afford to go to the ZBA and they can get it done, right?
Oh, they
Special
could.
permit.
Yeah, but we should give.
Well, I'm not
somebody
worried
some
about,
guidance.
I wouldn't worry about Walmart because they've got
Yeah.
grandfathered signs that they're already working with.
Using.
And they've got big signs and everybody knows where Walmart is, so.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the other, whatever, 13.
If they ever decided
Business
they
owner.
wanted
No,
to
but they,
renew
but they
or-
can still comply with the bylaw using their grandfathered status and say, okay,
Yeah.
20% is the mall, whatever they call the mall, Scarlet Place
Sure.
Market.
Yeah.
And then the rest goes towards whatever number of businesses are there. I mean, there should be enough area there.
I guess the only thing that would be the toss up there is if the movie theater decided they wanted a bigger sign so they could show the movies.
It's already there.
I know, but have you read the name of some of the movies there? I mean, they mix them all together and jumble them up.
It's, you can't do it while you're driving past.
But they just redid that.
They
No,
did,
they
they made
can go
it, but the same size.
No, they can go to electronic sign, right?
Yeah, they could go
Yeah.
They
electronic.
could go electronic.
Well, they would probably need a variance
Because they are added
because
to
it's
the
more
others.
than the area that I think we allowed, but it's an existing sign, so it might be an easier one. But I don't think we should be writing the bylaws for one lot. We
Yeah.
should generally
Yeah, no,
look
I
at
agree.
how we
Just-
want the town to look.
But I think that brings up the point about that it should be, like if you were to just stick to just business centers, you could say, and you start talking about business centers like Walmart, you say, all right, we'll let them have signs this big so the movie theater can do it, or something, or make it so it complies with the sign up at Salter School or something. Then, there in that business center, they can do that sort of thing, but then like one of Army Navy says, hey, I can put up a huge sign like that, even though.
Yeah, but where they
Right.
going to put the sign, you know?
It's not
You
appropriate.
wanna sort of break it up so that they don't do that, you know?
No, if they want to have like a Rochester's Plaza kind of sign, where they going to put it, on the building?
Well, but I don't know, I mean, I'm not
They
planning
have
on
no
just
space
that
for
one.
that. They don't, no space
But I
for
mean,
that.
I think as far as if we're gonna start doctoring the bylaw, it
Mhm.
makes sense to break it up in some
It has to be.
way that's proportional, or
Proportional
somehow
to the, yes,
scalable to the property instead of just,
agreed.
you know, what?
Oh, no, I was just saying, I have made notes on this, we were talking back and forth.
And I don't know what the wording is, and really, I'm just worried about getting the wording out before our meeting.
I mean, I would suggest we don't do it, but I don't want it to be done in the first place, so.
Yeah, but I wanna be able to get all our additional Cumberland Farms things through the planning board with,
Well, when they come with site plan review, we can do
reasonable,
those.
what's the word?
Strict compliance.
With, yeah, be able to use our
Waive
strict
strict-
compliance,
waive
waive
strict
strict compliance
compliance.
and get.
And that's why we put it in the bylaw, so that we can do that. But,
Yeah, I mean, if people aren't sort of complaining about this, I mean, Vinnie, to your point, maybe we don't need to address it
Yeah.
right now.
Well, that's the question is now, and
No.
then we just deal with them when people come in.
I talked to several businesses, they all want a big signs.
right, but
All
how big
want
is
a
it?
big signs. That's one of the complaints. So-
Well, if that's the case, then the zoning should control it. so that they have a, if the businesses want a bigger sign, and they go to the sign store and they say, we wanna do this, and the sign store at least has some guidance before they say, here's your monster sign, go get a special permit.
No, the science store, they want to make money, you know.
Oh, I know.
They get the sign, they get the more money. They don't care how much sign they want to.
Oh, I know, but then everybody's gonna come in with all these
This is the-
wackadoodle signs
This is the
and go to
town's,
the
it's
ZBA.
the town's headache, right?
But
Town has to make something.
if we're gonna be responsible and write zoning
Yes.
that controls the look of the town, which is sort of what we're supposed to be doing here,
Yeah.
then we should do this.
Yes,
You know, I mean, that's
agreed.
what we should do. Yeah, do you have any constructive way to get out of this?
When in doing this, would you consider the fact of how far set back a plaza is?
Well, I don't, that's what I mean, I don't know the
Okay,
wording.
like right now, if you look at all the different, you know, the business centers, okay, where Salter School is, that's probably one business center that is the furthest way back.
And when we wrote this the first time, I remember bringing that up. Like the Salter School sign, if you were to have the right size sign on the Salter School, you wouldn't even be able to make it out from the street. You
I
know?
understand, what I'm saying is, the way I looked at it is when they came to change the big sign,
Yep.
okay? I can see, I saw their point, and I know Vinnie's not gonna agree, you know, he's probably gonna disagree with me, but that's okay, it's okay to agree to disagree. But the thing was, is that, and even when Cumberland Farms came, my concern was coming up the hill, you know?
Yeah.
You wanna be able to see, you don't wanna be at a little sign like this, and then all of a sudden, at the last minute you see it, that could cause more of an accident. But as you're coming up this hill, if you can see that sign from, I think, was it 300 feet? Is that what somebody said?
Depends on the speed limit, yep.
Right,
Yeah, it depends
you know,
on the speed limit.
300 feet, then you have, oh, okay, here's a gas station, you know, I need gas, you know? So I think that, in my opinion, I look at it as, you know, depending on where its location, coming the opposite way from Worcester, you know, into West Boylston, you know, the sign needs to be a little bit bigger because it is so far back, you know, you have to be
I mean,
on
Salter
top of
School
the
is.
plaza, you know.
Well, from
Fortunately,
either
what
direction,
helps it
it's
is
hard.
that there's a light there, you know, so hopefully the light will turn red so that you can look into the plaza to see what's, you know, to see what's in there. So I can understand the size of the sign there. So I'm just wondering if the board, you know, is gonna take that in consideration.
Oh,
How
absolutely, that's
far
the whole
back,
point of what we're
you know,
talking about.
How far back, you know, the setback is
Absolutely.
of the stores that are in that plaza.
Well,
Because that's
I think that's
one
the
in
whole
West Boylston.
difficulty. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole difficulty is that we don't know the wording. Do you go just on property size? Do you go on setback? Do you go on, I mean, I don't know.
Or you can just put down that plain and simple, if you're not happy with your sign, put a special permit and go see the ZBA.
Well, but that's the cop-out that I'm sort of trying to avoid as the planning board writing zoning rules. If the zoning rule is, we don't know what to do whatever you want and go get a special permit, I mean,
Well, that's,
it's really
but
not a
that's
very good
not,
zoning rule.
right, and it is, but that's not what it is. The sign bylaws went before town meeting, the town voted in favor of these bylaws, so that's what we need to stick by. And I
Well,
think
unless
that,
we change them and have a
oh,
discussion.
right,
and
well, we
do
change them, then we put it to town meeting.
Again.
My fear or my concern is that if we increase the size of the signs, people are not gonna vote for it, so the whole thing will get shot down.
No, that's true. I mean, there's sort of a strategy.
Well, and
Aspect.
I guess my opinion would be, I don't wanna increase the size of all the signs. I don't think that would be appropriate, because if there's some businesses that are smaller, like I would not want there to be larger signs. However, there are instances, like I do understand why the ZBA did make such a monstrous sign at Salter Plaza. I understand where their thinking was because of just what he was referring to. And so if there's some of that thinking in town as well, then that's something to be taken into consideration. It's like, I mean, I certainly wouldn't want these huge signs on the way with a lot of these business centers are small. Most of the business centers in West Boylston are very small, and that's
Yeah,
why we're
but
having
you want to have a
difficulty.
sign, like the Watchers Plaza near our Walmart? That'll be good.
Which one? The Walmart one?
Yeah. Walmart sign should,
Isn't
if it
the,
is bigger, that'll be good.
which
Suppose
one's
you could make
big.
it proportional to frontage, that way you don't have big signs all on top of each other.
Right,
Yeah,
but
sure.
frontage wouldn't do it with, the Salter School one, because they have a narrow frontage and it opens up. So it's, writing the bylaws is always the difficult part, and that's what the planning board has always had to deal with, is
Yeah.
that you write it, you think you got it covered, and then
Something comes
one thing comes up. That's why
Right,
we
right.
put in there that come in with a site plan review, and we can waive some things to make it more reasonable.
Right.
So,
Well,
And
it's
then
all
you go with
school
the
wants
majority.
water under the bridge now, it's all done.
well, but yeah, and I think that's what we tried to do. And if we do move it along, I don't know that, I think everybody wants a bigger sign because they want more visibility, but I don't know that a bigger sign is really gonna give them more visibility. People are driving along, and I think everybody knows where everything is on Route 12.
Yeah, no, that's true. The thing about the gas station is, at some point, there's gonna, the big sign is for, 1 in 1,000 people driving by, because most of the people driving by know it's there even if there was no sign.
Well-
I mean, everybody knows where all the gas stations are in town.
But a Cumberland Farms looks like a Cumberland
Yes, we don't
Farms.
need
It's
any
not
sign.
as though, I mean, they do it on purpose. They have the white building, everything is specific colors, and it's, you know it's a Cumberland Farms, because that's what you're doing. You don't need a sign to say that.
Right.
I did not know that there were more businesses at Flag RV, though.
They were what?
That there were more businesses at Flag RV. Maybe their signs are too small, because I
Well, they
had
don't
no
have a
idea.
permit for a business center, so
Oh.
they were keeping it quiet.
But they've always had
It
that
was being
second
inspected.
business.
The building inspector was looking at it, but,
Oh, interesting.
I mean, they've always had that second building that's like almost right across the street from Walmart, where the sort of the accessory building.
yeah, the Caps R Us one that was.
Yeah, I forget what it used to be called. But I mean, that's been there. I didn't
Yeah,
know
so
that
there
there
was
was,
two, right?
there's two, I didn't know if there's any others.
But the building inspector was looking into the idea that there was a repair place, a loan place, and and the
All
Caps
kind
R
of
Us
as part
clients.
of,
I don't, I wasn't doing the investigation, he was, or looking into it, asking
Okay.
questions.
well, all right, so we should move on with this somehow.
You should.
And I want to be able to post this as, that we're gonna have our public hearing so we can get it done in time. When, what is our actual drop dead date to post? Do we know that?
Oh, we have a decent amount of time to do that. I think it would be best to go through, try to get the actual wording in at our next meeting, because we're gonna meet in 2 weeks.
Yep.
We get the wording at our next meeting of what we wanna post, what the changes are gonna be. And then we post it a couple of days
Okay.
after that meeting, and then it's good for, is it a 14-day notice, or is it a 7-day notice on the posting? Do you,
I think it's
14.
14.
I think it's 14.
is it 14? I know most of our stuff is 14, but I wasn't sure.
14 as well.
So we'll do that.
So 14 days, so then the following
The
month,
second meeting in March, we
we
could
could
do
have.
it.
Which still, I mean, the second meeting in March, we got April and May, so that we can, if
No,
anything.
we can't,
We can't?
because the first meeting in March is when we would be going, posting it.
No, I mean, he was saying, once we finish the wording,
Yep. Because we're right now at the second meeting in February,
oh, that's right.
so the next meeting is the first meeting in March.
Right, so we could,
So we could do.
If we get it-
First meeting. in-
right, so it would be April,
Yeah.
the first meeting in April.
That's right.
So we'd be able to do it April 13th.
Yeah.
So if it's on for April 13th, that's still way before May, whatever it is, the 20th or whatever the town meeting is.
Okay, then let's do that.
Doesn't Nancy need all the stuff for the?
We can give her a placeholder. We can give her a placeholder and say sign bylaw changes, and then get her the final wording after our public hearing.
Yeah.
Because they don't
Talk about
publish
it
the
last time.
warrant until
Beginning of April.
2 weeks of,
It's in April.
and she gave us a list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't think,
I don't think I kept it.
I don't think anybody's ever submitted something to her on time.
All right, the other thing is, you go down to page, where it says page 81, number D, 3E,
Yep.
duration. The change was to, I said no more than 0 seconds, and then he just said, made it easier, may change.
A portion of the image.
The full digital image may change, but no portion of the image may scroll, twirl, change color, imitate movement in any manner, or meet the characteristics of a flashing sign. That was from the previous.
Right, all I did was get rid of the time in
Right.
there. I mean, it does what they're asking to do.
Perfect.
Okay.
But when we post it, we should identify that this is the change. You know, that this used to be a minute. Somehow when we,
Well, we put it in as this red line, that's why I did track changes, so if
okay,
it puts a strike through the existing and adds in the new, so you can clearly see what's been removed and what's been added.
Oh, you want that still in there?
What's that?
Oh, you want
She
that
just
still in there?
deleted
Well, that's all right, I can just put it back in.
Well, when you, because what
Yeah,
you
but
do
it
is
was,
you
it was
take, you
zero,
take the
it was
bylaw.
I know, it was 60 seconds. It was just, the difference was, may change no more than every 60 seconds,
but no portion.
but no
Yeah,
portion.
that need,
Yeah, that was
I
it.
just think we should indicate where this is sort of the biggest
Yeah.
reason to be doing this.
Because we were told to.
Absolutely.
Because you have 3 colors on the sign now,
On the sign?
on the digital sign that's already come. There's 3 different colors.
Yeah, well, we're working on that, that's the bottom of the page.
Oh, the brightness, number 3?
No, it goes in green and white and blue, and right now we only allow white. But I mean, we said white because it was our first draft at doing an electronic billboard bylaw, so if it's, as long as what it says here,
foreground
shall be
color,
composed of one foreground color and one contrasting background color. I mean, I don't care if it's orange and purple, but we don't want 45 different colors on the same image.
yeah, but that's, maybe that's boring to see that every single day. That's why they,
Well, change the colors, but don't give me if it says welcome to West Boylston, I don't need a purple W, a green E, a
Oh.
orange.
I get it, I get it.
That's the point. So it can change the color each time the sign changes. I'm not worried about that, and that's a good change to be made.
Keep it
But-
interesting.
Let's not get too wild.
Okay, I mean, I think we're gonna get there. I think that we do have to spend some, or whatever, come up with some wording on the sizes per business centers, just so that it's at least more clear.
Well, that was what Chris was asking. He said there was some conflict between the two, which it was more of an interpretation that we made and gave to him, but we should clarify in the bylaws, so we don't need to make any interpretations, make it
We don't need
clear.
to make interpretations, and people can decide that that's big enough or whatever, you know? Maybe they don't need to go for any additional.
Right. Right, as long as they can see that they can get up to, I forget whether it was 80 square feet or
Mhm.
60 square feet, whatever the number is,
Yeah.
that's really what they can use. I don't want big signs, but I want everyone to know that these are the rules that everybody has to play by, so that it's
Right.
fair to all the boards and all the businesses.
Right.
And I think
I
we have
agree.
to spend some time on that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So that number 3, take that out of there?
Yeah, I think we have something that has
Right.
actual
Yeah,
numbers.
Yeah, you did, and that's why I was like, well, how do we really check that?
I don't really know what it means, but the numbers are
Yeah,
there.
right, I don't know what it really means either, but I guess we'll
I
assume.
think I looked it up last,
We did, we
week,
looked
and
it
it-
up,
but one of the gauges or the meters is like $100. So I mean, like we could,
so we would assume that the building inspector has that.
or could get one from his other town that he works
Yeah,
on.
so I'll take that number 3 out of there.
Get a new building inspector.
Or maybe, do we hire him because he has a lumen meter?
And make this, yep,
Good.
that's it.
Yeah, what's two?
Geo-
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing.
Oh, that was,
Well, that's kind of covered up on the top.
yeah, that is already covered, so we don't really need that.
Right.
So it would just be,
Not permitted in residence districts.
yeah,
So would it be the building inspectors, would he be the one to be responsible for how
Is this in the
the
bylaw?
sign is during?
Well, the enforcement of any zoning, yeah.
And how,
Is there
so he
zoning?
would have to physically go out there at night
some other
see
way, but.
how.
Or we could ask them.
So just, I'll take
if
it
someone-
off, just have it be those two things.
If
Sort of
somebody
react to
complains,
problems.
No, I would find in the bylaw.
Someone
where it
complains
says
to the
it can
building
only be in
inspector, you will go
just
and
add
fix
your
it.
wording into that.
I mean, you could start with asking the
Oh, okay.
people,
All right.
Because everything's
To-
based on the zoning.
whatever, if they're in control of their sign, they could tell them how bright the sign is maybe.
I would think that
Maybe, all right.
with the sun coming,
Once you draft it, I'll go through
hitting
it.
that sign during the daytime, I think that would kind of cause some.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that during the day, signs can be as bright as they possibly be, and you won't notice it compared to the sun.
And then at night, you just turn it down.
Or it should do that automatically or something.
Right.
Or go off.
Well, no, because in the zoning bylaw, it gives, specifics, and I have no idea what that even.
Those were actually, Karen Parade did it, and she researched, and
Oh,
there
okay.
was some lighting standard that had those numbers, and that's where she got it from, but I'm sure that if you ask her, is that 124 or 170, she wouldn't be able to tell you what it is.
Okay.
But those standards came from some documented, known location.
Did you by any chance research that when you researched the sign?
The
in,
lumens?
In Northborough?
I did not do the lumens,
Because
no.
I know you did a lot of research, and I was just curious if that was
I
one
didn't,
of the things that you.
no, I didn't, no, not specifically in the lumens, no.
I was just wondering, like other towns that have digital signs, how,
What they say.
what their.
Yeah, no, I'll look.
your comparison.
I'll look.
You're doing a
See
good
what I
job.
can
This is
find.
good.
What about the school? The school has a new digital
Yeah,
sign.
you know, I
Did we
mean,
bring that up?
They do, but that is, I actually looked again, I was thinking it was in color, but it's black and white, and
It is?
it is.
But what
I'm
about?
colorblind, and I just don't know black and white and color.
Well, it has been the past few weeks, so I don't know if it ever was in color and they just switched it to.
Yeah, but
black.
what about the moving
You
image?
might
But
have seen our
But the
tape.
lumens,
Illumination.
the illumination
it's all
seems
for the
to be
readers.
okay, like, I don't feel like it's
But
not
there's
like
still
bright like the
animation.
one in the center of town.
So as far as the illumination, would it help the board in when you're setting up the bylaw, the zoning bylaw, to research, other towns to see what they have, to see what an acceptable, I don't know, I'm asking.
Yeah, it would also be interesting to go to the signs, the absolutely unpermitted sign store right there next to, West Boylston Seafood. I think they have this, there's a sign store in there, and then they have the Earthscapes store. I don't think they ever got a permit to build their building or to do anything over there.
That
Put up
was,
the
then there had
signs.
been a business center I didn't count too.
It is, I think it's got two businesses in it.
Three.
Was it
And
the
building.
hairdresser?
The ones with like the,
But,
You know
yeah,
where they got the
So-
fence with all the stone things?
so he might know
Yes.
something about,
oh, there's a sign store in
I think there's a sign store, the Earthscape store, and then the hairdresser right on the corner.
there? Oh,
on the same lot, yeah.
But I mean, like, it used to just be that one house. And then they built that building, they put up everything, I mean, it all just sort of came about.
Yep,
oh, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the sign guy, I just imagine he would be able to answer that question if he sells those kind of signs.
Or somebody who does sell
you're gonna
those
stop
kind of
and
signs.
ask?
Oh, no, then when he's open, I can't tell, I can never see a sign. I'm just kidding. I'll try.
I didn't even know he was there.
He's a crappy sign guy.
Yeah.
Are signs on the town exempt from
No,
bylaw?
no.
No,
They're not.
no, they're not.
Nope,
As
that
Mr.
wasn't, that
McNally
was
pointed out to
purposefully
me.
not put into the zoning bylaws.
The only thing that's exempt is the tapestries from the lighting plant on the light poles.
Those are written in there, those
Yeah,
are,
they're
they're not
in there.
exempt, they're a
But
sign.
they're not allowed, nobody can do them except for the light plant.
Right. And only for
What they-
nonprofit fundraising type of things, they couldn't advertise,
And I think they get
Like-
approved they're supposed to be approved by the board of selectmen or something.
something like that, yeah.
The reason I'm asking you is because and I could be wrong on this, but I thought that when the Board of Selectmen were talking about doing the sign on the common, I thought that there was some mention about, the sign could be, a little bit bigger than what the bylaw. Like I said, I could, because it's on town property and it's a town sign, so I thought that maybe it was grandfathered, so.
Well, none of it's already there.
So they could, do whatever they,
Well, they certainly
Well,
know
I'm
people,
just asking a question.
but no, they're not supposed to be able to do that.
no. But there was an older sign that had been there for years and years. And so I think they used that area
Right.
for what they currently are using.
So they couldn't have made it any bigger. But they
I
could have.
I don't know the size of the sign.
I know I'm just keeping my comments down.
I mean, I don't know the size of that sign, and if it is smaller than the requirement, I don't know.
I think it's a 4x8,
And I don't know the
that's
requirement.
32 square feet.
But I think if your question is, are they allowed to get bigger than if it was a business? I think the answer is no. But I don't know how big the sign is relative to how big the sign can be.
Because I think the sign at the school is bigger than what the bylaw would state.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen it. but
Huh?
I still have not seen it up at the school.
Well, I think Cheryl has.
Yeah.
I thought it was the same size as the one on the
I don't
common.
think it's bigger than
Oh, yeah.
what
The common?
zoning bylaw requires.
not only it's a violation of, it's moving
That's
and
moving.
moving
So maybe-
objects.
Yeah.
Well, that's something, again, that's something we go to the zoning enforcement officer, which is the building inspector, and he's only been here a couple of days, so I give him a little bit of time to
Slacker.
make friends before he gets people really ticked off at him.
Okay, let's move on so we can get out of here.
Be on time?
We could be. Right, so that's all done.
So this one will be
There's no
going
new
for the
business.
next meeting?
Yeah.
We'll finish
Zoning
that.
bylaw.
We'll finish it, we'll get ready to do the posting and get everything rolling towards a meeting in the first meeting in April for the public hearing. Right?
Yep,
Sound good?
sounds good.
Yes, sir.
And you'll do all the work, and then Vinny will check all the work, and then we'll be done?
And then you'll sign it.
Eventually, yes. Maybe I won't.
That's
but
good.
It'll go through. All right. But, all right, now we have no new business. Does anybody have, well, let's go through our little pile of stuff here. Vinny,
What?
complete streets policy discussion?
That's Rajesh.
No, that's you,
Oh, it was from Vinny.
that's you.
Whoever wants to talk about it.
The state is pulling together or encouraging towns to create a complete streets policy. And a complete streets policy, I wrote it up somewhere, but I don't have it here.
Oh,
Is it in the
you
email?
attached it.
Yeah, I know,
Email.
but I didn't. It's probably somewhere on it. But generally, it's what I wrote.
Yeah, it was good.
Rajesh and I attended a training class on this thing. It was a half-a-day training by Mass DOT, and the summary is that it's a program that provides, and I can read it right from here, safe and accessible options for all travel modes, walking, biking, transit, and vehicles for people of all ages and all abilities. So it's basically trying to encourage not just automobile use and heavy truck use on the roads, but to include some way for people to walk, to ride bikes, people that are handicapped in any way, not just in a wheelchair, but people with limited sight or limited hearing, to be able to get around safely in the town. And it's a policy, so it's pretty flexible, and it's not a requirement that every street have sidewalks and bicycle lanes, but it's to pull together a plan for the town to really look at where they want to have these accessible areas. I know myself, I've gotten out and gone into one store, gone to the bank on Route 12, and then wanted to go across the street to West Boylston Seafood for lunch, and almost didn't make it back to the bank because of all the traffic, and there's no crosswalks. It's just a difficult place to just get out and walk, and it was not even 100 yards.
Right, it was crossing the street.
Right, and so what we're trying to do is provide some guidance for the town, and the benefit to the town is, it's not just writing another plan that gets put up on a shelf. It makes the town eligible for reimbursement of design expenses, which a lot of times when we do some improvement projects around town, we can get funding for the construction, a portion of the construction, but we have to pay for the designs up front.
Yes.
Where's the money from? Is this
This is a separate funded bond, I think it's a transportation bond bill. It said somewhere in the package of where it came from, but there's millions of dollars in it. There's a lot of towns that'll be going for it, but because we were at the meeting kind of early in the process, and also I think because we have a sidewalk plan and some other stuff, we're having the CMRPC updating the open space and rec plan now, and they can incorporate these ideas into that, so we can almost kill two birds with one stone to get it moved forward. At this time, we're trying to see if the planning board considers it a good idea, and then we would forward it off to the Board of Selectmen, or actually, we would, at another meeting, we would hold it on have a public meeting on it, we would vote to recommend some kind of a policy, trying to incorporate any changes or suggestions the selectmen may have on the draft. And then we would recommend it to the planning board would recommend it to the selectmen to introduce this policy, and then they would then vote to adopt the policy, because it has to be done by the Board of Selectmen. But the intent is, you can get money for some design work, and you also can get $400,000 worth of construction grant money as well. It's all reimbursements, so the town would have to front the money, but you would get paid back by the state, similar to some other programs that are in place. But it seemed like something that Rajesh and I drafted the policy. It wasn't, hopefully it'll get reviewed and looked upon favorably, but we wanted to hold a hearing with the planning board, get input from the select board, and then try to get it off to the select board for their discussions to see what they want as well.
I thought it looked great. Thank you for attending.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you for going.
Yeah, thanks.
What,
Do we need to talk to those people? See whether that covers all the areas?
Well, he gave us, it's based on his guidance document,
So it
and
should
it's
be fine.
expanded from what he said. I don't think so, because that was a consultant to Mass DOT.
Yeah,
It's possible we could just send it to the person who gave the presentation. at this.
District 3 person, somebody.
Yeah, well, but he
On that
worked
list.
for Stan Tech, I think it was, one of the engineering firms that was under contract to District 3.
I think, we should send it to them too, just in case.
We can always do that, yeah. I wasn't sure if anyone had any suggestions. Did I make mistakes on the wording, or did you have other ideas of where things might be, where it might be good to get
You don't have it
more
yet.
parks?
I had
That's a
What are you
separate
looking at?
document.
the document that he sent us.
We don't have it yet.
Yeah,
You sent it to
Didn't I
the email.
send it as an
you
attachment?
Yeah,
did,
it's-
I
it's
thought it
okay.
looked, I know I read it, I thought it looked good, I
Complete
didn't-
street policy, yeah, it's an email.
Yeah, no, I didn't notice
Just 2
anything
pages,
incorrect, or, yeah, it was a quick read. I thought it looked good, I think it's a great idea.
I certainly, would this be part of rewriting some of the zoning to get sidewalks onto?
That would probably be part of it. I mean, what it is it's become, first thing is a policy that we really want to have sidewalks, we want to have bicycle ways. I mean, the big thing that always jumps out at me, because I ride a bike, is Route 140 coming up around the reservoir, and that, the narrow shoulders and the danger right there.
It's a
If-
mandatory we need to have the policy, complete state policy to get the fundings.
So that's the
If it's
start?
not there, we are not eligible to get the fundings.
Oh,
We are
yeah.
not eligible to apply any of those things.
Well, that makes sense, so.
Right, and we also, if we have it in place, we also get additional points on other criteria that are, the block grant stuff, some of the other funding, the Chapter 90 money comes, but I think there are some supplemental funds that are available if you have these plans in place, these policies in place. So I think what we can do with Chair's permission is schedule a public hearing to discuss the policy, look for people's comments and input.
We do that before we talk to the board of selectmen? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
And we invite the select board, the transportation committee, the DPW guy, everybody. They don't have to really attend. It's one of those things that we're gonna give it to them anyway, and hopefully we'll get the input early, so we'll be able to just incorporate whatever changes they want, and then it will fly through their review process, but they still have the final review. It's their policy.
Board of selectmen's.
Yes.
So would we have to set the hearing for the 23rd of March?
Just a meeting, or is it?
Well, I don't, he said we had to post it, right?
Yeah, we have to post it.
Well, yeah, is
So
it
public
just
hearing.
readily posted, or?
So actually, it says public meeting, it doesn't say public hearing, so
Okay,
Yeah,
so
but
then
that's
I-
the one
post it
thing,
on our agenda.
no, that's the one thing, he is not sure of it.
Oh,
Public meeting or public hearing,
right,
he is not sure, and he said he will go back and look at it. He never answered it.
right.
Well, why don't we put it on our next agenda to discuss, and
Right.
if in between
If it is
time
a-
we find out
What will
that,
happen if it is a public hearing?
then,
Just post it on the website, right? That's all?
Well, it would have to be a public
if
hearing, we'd
it
have
has
to,
to be a
14 days.
23rd, then it would have, then we'd have to have it on the 23rd. So if anyone hears otherwise, that it has to be an actual hearing, then can't we just post it for the 23rd between now and the next,
okay, we're ready to,
through email?
yes, 'cause we don't, right, so we don't really need to, we can you check out whether it's,
Yeah, I can do it.
find out, get an answer, and if it is a public hearing, let Melanie know, and then we'll do a,
So do I,
hearing notice in the
Right,
newspaper,
right.
right?
And then it could be put in for the,
23rd,
I don't know, because,
23rd of March.
March.
no, oh yeah, that's right, it's
We
still
can do it
February.
for the 23rd of March.
Yes, 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 I was,
next planning board meeting.
advertise on the 9th and 16th. And we have it on the 23rd.
yes.
Yeah.
And we can work out the, I mean, the wording's pretty simple, the policy.
We can, is everybody happy with with Vinnie's draft, that we could publish that as the,
Yeah.
okay, so that'll be the document that we publish?
Did you get out that out of the CPTC? Because that's one of the topics they're gonna be talking about
No.
on March 19th.
Oh,
These
yeah,
Clean streets, because this, Department of Transportation's fiscal 2016 capital budget has allocated $12.5 million to this project, but only if municipalities have enacted a local policy and have applied to build, design, and/or rehabilitate specific roadway projects to provide better mobility options for all users. Well, if DOT is doing it, then they should be getting hotter on Route 12 and 140, because those are, well, at least Route 12, because that's their road.
140 is that road?
No, that belongs to the town.
no,
doesn't it?
town, it's a town, it's numbered, but it's a town road.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought there was a state plow.
Actually, it belongs to DCR. They should be the ones.
There we go.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, $12.5 million they're allocating, to this project, but like Vinnie just said.
Everybody's gonna be going for it.
The town has to.
If we
have
can
a
step
policy.
up, I mean,
Early.
I think a lot of towns are gonna try to gun for that money, so
Yeah,
if we can get there early, we can at least beat the rush.
I think we should put in a project for exactly $12.5 million to fix 140. Take the
Nice
whole
idea.
ball of wax right there.
Cap of 400,000.
That would be all
Be
right.
aggressive.
You can get sidewalks on Route 12, that would be great.
And
if it
buried
is a
service.
public hearing, it has to be advertised in the newspaper too.
Yes.
Yeah, not just a meeting.
If it's a public meeting, it just has to be posted with our agenda, which is easy. But if it's a public hearing, it needs to be advertised 14 days or 10 days in advance.
Yeah, so actually I need it as soon as possible, because I have to call the paper, because I'm gonna put it.
Or, I could call the,
Put it down here.
Yes, well, today's only the 24th. You got another week in there.
I think it was the end.
Not yet. We got a lot more winter left.
there are
Oscar
other,
Wanty said no.
there are a number of towns adopted the complete street policy, right?
Who has?
A lot of other towns. Maybe if
There's
I
a-
call the towns, they
I
may.
think they said, I thought I
They may
wrote
know
down.
that too.
There are some that have already adopted it.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
there are several towns.
Oh, we're behind.
We are so behind.
We're so behind.
Well,
So in the next month or so, we'll get this.
I mean, if we can get our act together, I think we can get some money. So it's just getting people to work together to get this thing
So
through.
do you think on the safer
across
side,
the
let's
aisle.
put it as a public hearing?
Well, if you can call and find, I mean, if you
Yeah, I
can
will
call and
call
talk to him
tomorrow.
tomorrow, and if he doesn't have an answer and is not sure, we just do it as a public hearing and,
I will call them, the.
I mean, that's
state,
the most conservative.
As well as
I mean,
the-
if we
Yes.
just do it, then we're there.
there
Right.
are
Or
a
they
few
may
of the
just do
towns
it,
adopted
right,
the
next
policy.
time.
We just spend an
Okay.
extra, whatever is $40. How much is it? To put it in the paper?
Depends on how much wording it is. Could be
What's the
about
minimum?
36,
Yeah.
depends, 36, 40.
yeah,
More.
so,
Then again,
it's
if you
usually-
have to
I
do it
always think
twice, I'm gonna
80,
do it
so-
twice, I forgot that,
yeah.
we'll double that.
Okay. So,
Okay. So that was it for,
so are we happy to just post it and be done with it for the 28th meeting?
No, I will
No,
find
for the-
out.
23rd.
I will find out. And then,
Yeah, we'll find out if we
Definitely
have
have it
to.
on 28.
What's that?
See how prepared or prepared
Oh, yeah.
hearing notes or something.
Yeah.
in the paper.
Okay, next, Doppler Tower.
Other boards, or not, is that new
No,
business?
I'm just
Right.
going through this pile of stuff.
Yep,
Doppler Tower for Cheryl Ketty.
yes, we got that in the email,
Today?
I think it was today, yep.
It was today.
And
And
when I started looking at it, we don't allow, the only towers we allow in town are wireless communication. I think that's what it is, wireless communication towers,
NBC want to have a tower,
and this is not a,
broadcasting tower.
Right, I thought it was that we just don't have anything right now that would address that.
Yeah, is there a place that specifically prohibits these kinds of things?
well, no, if it's not an approved use, then it's not allowed in the town. That's the way
It's not
zoning is
addressed.
interpreted. So since it's not in there, it's not an allowed use. But if for some reason a lawyer actually looks at this and says that my interpretation is wrong, then they can come in and say, okay, well, we want to put
Then
one in
it's not
town
addressed.
somewhere. Right,
So they can either say it's not allowed anywhere, or they can say it's allowed everywhere,
right,
because you didn't address it specifically.
right, which is possible. But then we go back to the section of the bylaws that talks about towers, and they have a 100-foot maximum height.
What section is that?
2.7.4.
4D.
So if the use is allowed, there's a limited height, because they said they wanted it 100 to 200 feet plus the 30-foot dome on top, or something like that.
Is it a radar, or is it a broadcast thing?
It's a NBC broadcasting.
I don't know, it said a
It's
Doppler
Doppler
radar
radar.
tower.
Doppler radar.
Yeah, but Doppler radar isn't transmission, because I don't have a Doppler radar receiver.
No, it's not.
I think it's like a weather tower.
Weather alert and warning.
Yeah,
But what's your airport?
it would be like that, yeah.
Let's get that big dome.
Yeah,
on
it's
top.
not for
Yeah, and something
communications.
spinning inside there, some array.
Yeah, it's not for communications. It's
It says,
specifically
building a
for,
new Doppler in an area to help improve ability to
NBC,
disseminate timely weather alerts and warnings.
yeah, it's the, Channel 4 Doppler radar. You want to add an additional one?
I thought Channel 4 CBS.
it's a NBC, whatever.
NBC.
Oh, CBS. Oh, wait a second.
I don't know, it's,
I don't know what channel. So this is actually gonna be to collect radar information for the weather, not necessarily to broadcast the
Correct.
warning,
It's just to collect the information.
Just another-
For the
temperature and whatever.
weathermen, so they can report on this area.
Oh,
right,
so we
she,
get, as long as we get West Boylston's name on all the
We
national,
would,
right, on the national maps.
that's right, we would. West Boylston's
I don't think
weather
they said
is,
Any of the town-owned property or any place,
The only other thing they'd have to do
they are
is,
more than happy to lease or whatever.
right. They'd be willing to locate the tower on town land, and
For lease.
And would they be open to classifying the structure as an emergency tower? So the town can co-locate any emergency equipment on the structure. After reviewing your zoning ordinances, I did not see any mention of regulations for such a structure. I understand that a closer look at the proposed design would be required. Provide input on what type of use would the town classify this structure as.
well, I
and
think you can say it, we interpret it as being under the wireless communication tower.
Well, in the wireless communications tower, it doesn't say, it says, what's the definition?
So what's the drawback allowing it?
You'd see it.
Nothing.
It's like a giant sign. It's like a 200-foot tall, 30-foot wide sign.
Yeah, but we are getting paid.
is that how large it is?
Well, it's 100 to 200 feet tall, and then somewhere it says the 35.
30-foot wide dome on top.
Oh, yeah, the dome on the top.
Okay, but the problem that I see is that for the purposes of this section, wireless communication services shall mean the
The
provision
dome is only 33 inch.
of the following types of services. So it's gonna provide these services: cell phone service, personal communications, and enhanced communications towers, including antennas and accessory structures, if any. So
And it's up there.
it's not a communications tower, it's a weather station.
Right.
So I didn't think it met that standard, so it's not an allowed use in town. But, so that's what they were generally asking.
I'll take the cell phone tower if you take Wayne's weaponry.
Actually, I thought if we put it up by the prison, like up on the land up there where we were gonna put the
Yeah?
solar field, I mean, up there would
Right.
be,
Weaponry place?
no, on the other side of
Oh,
town.
that's a good place to put it.
You could put the weaponry place right in the prison.
And the prisoners could run it, right?
No, I mean, up there,
And
the only thing I guess you have to be careful of is if it interferes, because that's right near the Boylston police station, you know, whether it bothers them, you know.
They could,
Yeah.
Is it,
And all the people that live in Angel Brook would have that and the trains to worry about.
True.
like I
is this the
said,
radiation?
But they'd
Also-
have very accurate weather prediction.
I'll take it, and you can take guns going off all day.
They still doing it?
Good point.
Yep.
So you don't need to go there, that's,
You only have 10 minutes before we have to leave.
Or is this one for a special permit?
so,
I think
well,
they're
no,
just
this
starting.
one,
They don't even
I don't
know.
think they're allowed, but they can go through the process to see. I mean, do you guys disagree that there's something in our bylaws that,
No, I didn't know that the wireless one said cell phone and communication. Oh, wait, what
It's
was the
not
emergency
cell
thing?
this, right, but the standard for being a wireless communications is that it is a cell phone and communications thing. So this tower doesn't meet that definition,
It does not meet that definition.
right?
Right, correct.
So that's what I,
They said our
think we
client
need
would be open to the idea of classifying the structure as an emergency tower. Do we have something in
No.
there that says emergency tower?
No, so they're saying that.
no, I mean, I think they'd be,
The town, well, I believe what they're saying is the town could then hook onto their
Right.
equipment for
Oh, okay.
emergency services. So I think it would be, what exactly does that mean, and how could we
Right.
benefit from that?
right, if we could do an emergency tower, which isn't in our bylaws, because typically
That's why
the
I thought-
town gets emergency services on all the other the wireless wireless towers that are in town, it's already on those. So we're all set. So I don't know that they're offered to
To do that also.
call it an emergency tower, they could call it a hippopotamus, I don't care, it's still not allowed in the zoning.
There's nothing within the zoning
Is there
that would,
hippopotamus stuff in the zoning?
No.
well, because why would it be in the zoning? Because who would ever think of that?
I know, that's, yeah, I agree.
Maybe we could incorporate it into the sign bylaw. While we're here. Well, okay,
So what I was gonna do is I was gonna follow up, I sent an email earlier, so we know, I'll follow up and just confirm what we're saying tonight. That it doesn't appear like it was. Town reception was that we tried to deny one over on Beaman Street years ago, and
Oh.
were overturned by the court, so we had to allow it.
so there's a weather tower over there?
No,
No,
it's,
communications,
communications, cell tower.
Oh, and that's why we wrote the bylaw?
Is there anything? in
No,
the
it was after the bylaw was in place, but
Some
the
sense.
federal FAA, is that who regulates it? FCC, one of those.
Have you looked at the
Says you have to do it.
exemptions? Under
Under what?
exemptions,
For pay.
Yeah, I don't think anything applies.
page 21,
Of the zoning?
Exemptions.
under exemptions, page 21. Is there anything?
I didn't,
Image
yeah.
Radio, no. Or for purposes set forth in chapter 48, section 3.
Oh, if that says something, I don't know what that says.
Yeah. Don't know.
I don't think so. All right,
So, do
Well-
you think that the Board of Selectmen's, I mean, the town in general wants to reject these? I mean, I don't think it has much consequence either way.
Right, I'm not sure, I don't know that it's allowed under zoning, but I'm not even looking at whether we want it or don't want it. It's just not an allowed use.
Right.
So they would have to get, if anything, they'd have to get a variance, which
Yeah.
I don't know that they could get. because they don't even have the property figured out where they wanna put it.
Right, so they don't have a place to ask for a variance.
Well, it sounded like they were just in initial stages anyway.
Yes, yeah,
But it
But
sounds
now
like
you
they're
can
wondering if the
forward.
town would be receptive to the whole thing.
right. So what do you think? Would the town be receptive?
I mean, if it was that spot up
It's
by
all,
the prison or
it's all
something.
based on the location.
Yeah,
Yeah, based on the location.
So if they put it some place, no residential or industrial or nothing is there, they don't care, nobody cares.
So put it on DCR property?
Sure.
if we could float it in the middle,
Yeah,
the big ball
middle
would
of the
float
woods.
around the reservoir.
In the middle of the woods,
I mean, I think it depends, I mean, I don't see any reason
Well,
to say that we're
but I
not
can see,
receptive.
Put it in
there's
the middle
gonna
of
be
one
a,
ninety, no one can see it.
right, but there's gonna be residences somewhere.
Oh, on
Yeah.
the nuclear waste side there, oh, no, not nuclear waste, the hazardous waste. We'll put it right in the middle of the hazardous waste thing.
Which
No
one?
one's gonna see it.
Which,
No one's really
The
gonna see
hazardous
it.
waste, what is the,
The removal station,
I forget what it's called. Where you can bring all your
you bring your
trash that's not really trash, like you can bring
your
your
TVs,
styrofoam.
yeah, the recycle center.
oh,
Recycling
What
center.
is it,
Oh, yeah.
Wachusett Earth Day Recycle
Mm.
Center or whatever?
yeah, I think we'd hear from a few people, the neighbors on that one.
Yeah, they didn't like that either, so we'll put it right in the
That's-
middle of that.
All right,
Or, maybe we'll send it to the select board, let
I
them.
mean, I
decide.
think there's lots of places where we could, but I don't think we should say we're not receptive to it. I don't have any
Right.
reason to say.
Yeah,
No,
But we're
I would
not.
agree, yeah. It
But it would
depends on the
depend on where
location.
they wanna put it.
depends on location.
But in general, I think that the planning board, would you say, I don't know, I would
so
It'd be
it's,
fine.
not
no, we,
be
will-
opposed to it, just on principle.
yeah, it's
Right.
not in the zoning, and it's not up to us to say anything, right?
Well, except for the
Well, they
asking
would
us
have
to,
They would have to come in with a site plan review, and we would do our regular safety,
intended thing.
all the other, make sure it's structurally sound, the whole deal.
It can't fall on somebody. Yes, sir?
Wouldn't this fall under 2.7, wireless communication service district?
Look at,
It says the wireless communication service district shall be located on all land owned by the town of West Boylston and all land located in business and industrial districts. The wireless communication service district shall be construed as an overlay district with regard to said locations. All requirements of the
Yeah.
underlying zone district shall remain in full force and effect.
right.
Except that it doesn't quite qualify as
But you
communication.
go back,
Yeah.
I think go back a page to the beginning of that wireless service, wireless communication district, like the third paragraph down, it defines what wireless communication is.
And it doesn't fit it.
It says requirements are an application put in for a
No,
permit.
no, no.
Yeah, but it
Before
doesn't
that,
quite fit
go to-
into the.
Go to the beginning of the
Page
section.
20,
2.7,
top of page 20.
section 1, the last
Purpose of the
paragraph.
section?
The last
And the
paragraph
last
in
paragraph.
section 1. For purposes of the
Top of the
section,
next page.
wireless communication
These are
services
different
shall
things.
mean.
And it's just that it's not communication, I think is the difficulty here.
My feeling is, when they wrote this bylaw, they might have not thought about it, right?
Right.
Well, the reason we wrote the bylaw was because the FCC required us to have something, because they were all coming, this is
Yeah,
back,
wireless and
way
whether,
back. And,
Maybe we could put this in the marijuana dispensary.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Put all these things all in one place.
great.
Marijuana dispensary.
So basically, you can put a cellular telephone service, personal communications, and enhanced special mobile radio service.
But that's
You
fine.
can't put any, you can put personal stuff, but God forbid, if it has anything to do with emergency, which would be more important. That's how I.
But this is an
that
emergency.
paragraph, Right?
They want to put up a weather tower.
it's, right, this is a Doppler radar thing.
Right, but it's
not-
an emergency.
No, it's not an emergency.
No,
It's a
they offered to
Doppler
Yeah.
radar.
let
Yeah,
us
they
put
offered.
our emergency stuff on it.
So that's
Which-
why I said, what would be, so my question to them would be, if they were pursuing this, what is it in that emergency communication
Well,
part
then-
could benefit
then I
the
would
town?
say- I would
And
say
what-
to that, if they want to consider an emergency, then that's something that town council, chief police, and the fire chief should be involved in, because that's emergency.
Right.
And if
Oh,
that's
right,
gonna help
right.
them, then that's something
Right,
that
what's
you
the
should look
benefit of the
into.
town?
We could, they said that their use is not an emergency use. They
Right,
said that their tower could be used for emergency antennas.
You can
So
attach
that's
that.
what I'm saying, you might want to ask the chief of police.
Yeah, but they're all gonna wanna know where it is.
Right, the question is, okay,
It's a
we
location.
don't need one on the.
Right next to
where-
one of the
hill
cell phone
on Lawrence
towers.
Street, because we already have a tower on the hill on Lawrence. Street.
Perfect place is where you said, over by
The
the
prison.
prison. I mean, there's like 300 acres over there, not being used.
Yeah, I mean, if it's town land, I mean, it sort of fits into what they're talking about, but,
Over on that's Tiverton Drive where they wanted to put the solar panels, right? They could put it there.
They could, that's why
I
our
mean, if they're
response,
interested, then.
our
say-
response to them is it depends on the location, basically.
Is there any radiation or on this thing because of the Doppler?
Yeah, that's what I mean, I don't know.
Variation meaning, I mean,
The magnetic.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
don't
don't know
know
if
that.
it's-
I mean,
they use microwaves, I believe, which is, yeah, it's.
Actually, if that's the case, we might want them to be 200 feet tall. Or whatever, to be as tall as they can, just so that it doesn't interfere with.
well, the whole thing has to be what standards are we gonna apply? Are we gonna apply the standards for the wireless tower, which we're somewhat familiar with? Or they're gonna come in and say it's just a standard site plan review? I don't know how to,
No, I don't know, and I also don't know what to tell them about the use. You know?
right,
If they're gonna put it up there and it's gonna bother the prison communications, what,
There are two benefits, one is town will be getting money
for rent.
for a rent.
Yeah, there you
Town
go.
will
Right,
use the tower for, if the police chief needs, put some emergency.
Well, if that's the
911.
case, then by
911,
the police station, by the prison isn't a very good place, because it's completely
no.
on the other side of town from where the station's
No,
gonna be.
but the relay of 911, whatever
Something.
things, yeah, those
Yeah.
things.
Oh, yeah,
Communication
sure.
equipments.
I mean, if we're gonna put it up and they're gonna offer this benefit, we'll take it. But I
That's
mean,
what I'm saying,
if they want
I'm
it
just.
right on the
throwing my-
town common, strung betwing the church and the
No, no,
gazebo,
no.
I think we're gonna say
No,
no.
these kind of things, they put it
I can agree with you on that.
you're right, and actually, I don't know if we should even hold on, let's just kind of end the discussion, because we're not even sure that they are gonna come this way.
Comes to town anyways, but I mean, but you can reply, say we're sort of indifferent on the whole thing, mostly depending on location.
Okay.
Right.
Unless
Does
you want to
everybody
reply.
agree?
Yeah.
You're welcome to do the replying, I don't mind.
I know, I'll never get to it, and then they'll never have our own weather tower.
All right.
Okay, what's the next one? Next one we have here is, John Fitch. All right, we already did that. But I'm gonna keep going. Important message to members of town boards and committee on Community Preservation Committee?
Yes, the Community Preservation Committee is going to be holding a yearly public hearing on March 21st at 6:05 for just an overview of the Community Preservation Act. And it's really also to, besides making themselves known, if there's any projects people have that they'd like to bring forward as well, it's a reminder that they're there and
Okay.
open to projects
Are
coming
you
forward.
attending for us?
I am attending, yes.
Okay.
Get there early.
Get a good seat.
I better.
Okay, that was done. Meeting minutes? Oh, wait, no, there was one other thing. Do we have any reports from other boards?
Open Space Committee is going to meet on the 8th. CMRPC is coming in with a progress on their updates to the Open Space and Rec plan. And we're talking about acquiring some property at 263 Maple, as well as there's some talk about getting a conservation restriction on property off of Goodale Street next to the highway.
Okay. Donated or we have to pay for?
The CR we'd have to buy as a town with CPC money, it's anticipated to be that way.
Okay.
The other one on 263 Maple is a donation.
Is that the one we A&R'd a while back?
Yes, yep.
Good. Anything else?
So I did have to send an email to Bob Dunn. He said he will be talking to Mike Kittredge as well as Jennifer Brown.
And Jen
Green.
Breen.
Yeah, Jen Bryan, regarding the bicycle rack.
Yep. At our last meeting, we asked about the bicycle,
Right.
A bicycle holder.
Oh.
Yeah, the Rex.
Racks,
The
that's
Rex.
the word I'm looking for, yes.
And what's Bob done do?
He's on the parks and the
Oh,
parks
parks,
facilities.
So I did contact him, he did send a reply to me, and he said he will be putting that in their agenda, talk about it.
Excellent.
We had a meeting at, Affordable Housing. They're going ahead with this letter about the, After Terrace, accounting.
That's one from ZBA?
Yeah, well, affordable housing is working with ZBA to.
That's great, working together see how it's working out well.
Richard even came to our meeting last night. Wasn't it thrilling?
Interesting.
Such enthusiasm.
What else do we? Oh, what do we call it? The group of all the information, on the computer,
Oh, database?
Repository.
repository. Karen's gonna come up with some sort of, proposal by next month for how to do something with it.
Good, we can update all our files too.
Somebody's gotta keep them using.
What else was on the agenda last night?
Yeah, that we don't,
You're gonna have
we
Paula
should be talking
Stewart,
that.
you're gonna have Paula Stewart look into the,
It's a Maple,
the assessor's office.
Oh,
Maple we don't.
oh, yeah.
Paula
Assessors,
What?
the assessor's office is confused as to the Afro Terrace, units that are affordables. So.
Which one are 40Bs, which one are
Yeah.
not?
Which one's
So
before?
our consultant will go see her or see whoever in the assessor's office.
And I sent an
Yeah.
email months ago asking,
And
what's the
Dick
status
Heaton
on
went to
all
see him.
that stuff?
on which ones? The Afro Terrace?
Afro Terrace, what were the ones that I had a bigger question on? Has Angel Brook been added into the,
That went along to, well.
oh,
yes.
I've never heard word back that
Oh,
anything
yeah.
was done.
Oh, I thought you said thank you. And then, you
Well,
know.
it was a thank you for the information, here's an introduction to whoever the woman was who was doing the work, and then I never heard anything after
Oh,
that.
well, yeah, I mean, it's in the database. We haven't done much else as far as making it more official or less official, but she's doing,
Can
she's
I,
collecting that and collecting deeds.
can I get the information sometime?
That's what I don't think exists yet, is like a collection,
There is not,
you know?
I think it's not clear yet.
And that's gonna be Karen's responsibility, actually.
No,
He-
not that one, the actual, yes,
No, with the SHI, the problem is that.
SHI, we need the listing of what's
Right.
where.
But we've sort of had this discussion where having these consultants or somebody else do the SHI hasn't really worked out, because it just sort of gets bundled, and then we get a new consultant, then they get paid to do it again, and then we get a new consultant, they get paid to do it again. So it's gonna become, maybe somebody else's job to help Karen, but Karen keeps it, you know, as part of the, you know, a report on the website.
Does Karen know this?
Yeah, she was at the
Okay.
meeting
All
when we
right,
talked.
so, yeah. She's the one
And
that
she sort
pulled it
of-
all together in the first place.
It's sort of a benefit to her too, because there'll be hours for her to work to do this, you know?
Yeah, she's looking for a lot of hours, yeah.
Well, I mean, it'll be some, you know, it'll sort of expand how much time she spends, gets paid to spend the time. in
Yeah,
town.
no, I know, I mean, because she does a lot for the town,
Yeah.
so that's
I
great.
mean, so it's just more money for her budget.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and I think she'll do a good job, I'm not worried
Yeah.
about it, I just was hoping to get it, because I thought they were due in March timeframe, so.
Yeah, there is a, whatever official, you're supposed to, you know, audit or whatever, the SHI for the town, that's true. And, I don't know if that wasn't on our agenda for having her do that, but Pat talked about it. I forget what we're doing exactly with it. But Pat's on getting that to be notarized or whatever we have to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to make sure
Make it
everything that's
correct.
there, let's get credit for everything we have.
Yes. And then there was.
Cost certification.
Yeah, well, that letter for the cost certification went out to get Ali to be honest on his cost certification so that we can, whatever, get any profit back or not.
Yep.
That letter went out, I don't think that anybody's reacted to it yet, though.
That was a good letter, very well done.
Yeah, that was our lady. I think that's it for my reports for other boards. Anybody have anything else? Are all the minutes fine?
Yeah.
Yep.
That was good.
That was quick. We transitioned to that. Nice job.
The transition, that was smooth.
It was very smooth.
Motion to accept the minutes for February 10th, 2016.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I think we're done for the night then.
Don't forget on the 19th of March.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Motion to
19th of
adjourn,
March.
yes.
The 19th of March is the.
Second.
Wait, just a second. What's the
Discussion.
March? What's the 19th
There
of March?
there's the meeting at Holy Cross for
Oh.
planning boards, zoning boards of appeals.
If anybody wants to go to
We
the,
got an email about it, and it's,
Yeah.
There's at least out of the
I asked
17
you yesterday.
categories, there's at least
So what?
10
19,
that are
you want to
worthwhile.
go?
yesterday.
do what I don't think I can.
You did?
You are in
Who gave it
camera
to us?
now.
I do, but I don't think I can.
Do you see that?
There's at least 10 out of the
Citizens
17
planning,
topics that are
training,
going to be discussed.
something like
10
that.
of them
Perfect.
So maybe I
are
accidentally
really
deleted
applied
it.
to, that somebody from ZBA, planning board should really attend these things.
He's going.
Oh, I think I accidentally deleted it.
Aren't you going?
Nope.
Oh, you're
There's
not.
one of, two of them is about complete streets, and the other one is about, well, stormwater, and the last one is about, will your sign bylaws pass in court?
Yeah, there was a new court decision that,
Reed
Limits
versus
in-
Gilbert, Arizona.
is it Arizona?
Yeah, that's what it's based on. Don't ask me
So
what it
it's
is. I
a
mean,
sign bylaw thing that's legal, so
Do-
it
Does
sounds
anybody
really
want to go to
exciting.
this thing on March 19th?
It's a Saturday.
Oh, it's Saturday, I might
It's
go.
on the
Yeah,
side.
it's Saturday morning mostly.
I've been
Well, no,
to,
it's
I've been to
both
at least
days.
two.
Lunch is included for $60. Town pays for
Town
it.
pays
too.
for it. It's an all-expense paid trip to Holy Cross.
Well, not all expenses, because you have to drive there.
You can probably, your board
Can you Uber
probably
and then get
pay for
paid?
it.
I don't know.
All right, back to the motion to adjourn.
I already did that one time.
And you seconded, and all in favor?
All
Aye.
Are you all set?
I'm sorry to go like that today.
There.